Welcome back to Northern Perspective, everyone. I'm Cypher.
And I'm Fox.
What a day. Today has felt like 3 weeks.
10 days, yeah.
So last week felt like 3 weeks, and today felt like 10 days. So
there's a lot going on.
Yeah. We were able to actually catch and bang out what some people are calling the next Apple press conference, which I don't think it's at that level. But
it was pretty epic.
It certainly was entertaining with the reporters today. Like, Pierre didn't take on one. He
took
on all of them. So if you haven't watched that, it's very funny. I think it's only about 11 or 12 minutes. So it's a fairly quick watch by our standards. And you'll definitely get some entertainment out of it. So feel free to like it, share it, comment on it, and all of the above. We've already seen that a bunch of you have already commented on it, so thank you very much, and a bunch of you watched it as well. So, thanks to everybody who joined the live stream last night, and thank you everybody who is tuning in tonight. I see Humble Tracker has already been doing yeoman's work in getting those likes up, as well as everybody else, so thank you for that.
And shout out to Vesper, who's joining us tonight in the live chat.
Feel free to harass him at your leisure. But I wanted to thank the Humble Tracker for 5 early gifted Northern Perspective memberships, as well as Alice Avonlea. Thank you very much for that, Alice. We just got something quick to read out to everybody, and we'll get into it.
Yeah, so this is a committee live stream night. This committee aired earlier in the day. It was live earlier today, and we are reacting to it right now. Cypher and I are live in the studio, but obviously the committee stream is no longer live. But you'll get our unfiltered, raw reaction because we have not seen this yet. We have heard from friends that this is excellent. So
yeah, we were worried that this was going to be a very dry hearing, but word on the street is no.
So we're going to watch it fresh with you guys.
And Fox wants to talk about one more thing, kind of dovetailing off of last night. So.
Yeah, so first, this is a committee live stream, as I was saying, so we expect it to run. This one's a little bit shorter, so we're thinking probably around at least 3 hours. And as such, we will not be able to address regular questions in the chat, though Barnaby and Vesper are both there if you guys want to chat with them. They both have great conversation. We will be addressing all super chats, and I just want to remind everybody that ensuring the utmost respect for our guests is of the utmost importance to us. We do kindly request thoughtful and measured communication in the chat, and resorting to insults may lead to muting or exclusion from participation. While differing viewpoints are welcomed outright, as I said last night, we don't want to build an echo chamber. Outright insults directed at any invitee will not be accepted. We do value diversity in opinions, provided they are expressed with due respect. This is a non-negotiable principle from Northern Perspective. We have been incredibly fortunate with our wonderful community, but we do have a few people with questionable intentions kind of sneak into the chat from time to time. So if you are having any issues with anybody in the chat, please tag Barnaby, or you can block the individual from interacting with you by clicking on the 3 dots beside their name and then choosing report or block.
Yeah, so we encourage people to disagree. Disagreement is the cornerstone of knowledge because you end up gaining new perspectives when you disagree. But when it crosses from disagreement into disrespect, that's where we draw the line. That's where it's different. So please respect the channel, respect the platform, respect each other, and respect the guests. At some point in the future, sounds weird, but it would be great to have some liberals as some guests to get their perspective. And even if we do end up having them on a live stream, we would like to have them treated with nothing but respect, because again, we want to demonstrate what the left does not, and that's a open mind and at least a willingness to chat with other people and open their perspectives to other viewpoints. So that's not to say we're not going to have conservatives on here. Don't worry about that. But just that we want to make sure that whoever we have on the channel, we just ask that you serve them the same courtesy as you serve us. because they're taking their time, and everyone is nervous when they come on the channel. We still get nervous right before we start an episode.
Yeah, definitely. Don Boulay says, do we have to say nice things about Trudeau now? Absolutely not. He's not an invitee. He's not
That's
allowed
right.
here.
He's not allowed on the channel. So go ahead. Let loose your inner Trudeau feelings. So Peter G with a early super chat for $5. Thank you very much. Not on this subject for this stream, but does Freeland actually have the education for finance to be in that profession? And what was her grade? No.
As far as I understand, no, she doesn't have formal education. Sometimes the MPs or the ministers will get like crash courses when they're appointed to a certain position, but definitely she doesn't have a degree in finance or anything like that.
Here's the thing. So I've worked with budgets, big and small, and I've worked for private corporations and been around. I would not accept the position of Minister of Finance. There would be better people, better qualified than I to take on that position. And Freeland is well, let's just move on. Otherwise we're going to go down a rabbit hole. Anyway, okay, so what do we have on tonight? We have a kind of out of the woodwork speaker that was invited to committee. The gentleman's name is Michel Lafleur, and Michel is the Director Professional Integrity within the CBSA. This is a supposedly independent department of the CBSA that holds investigations, processes complaints, that sort of thing. So it'll be very interesting to see what this gentleman has to say at the table. From my peeking, I've seen that Garnet Jennis is in the house, and Mr. Larry Brock is in the house, and a couple other Conservatives, and the usual suspects on the Liberals. So it will be interesting. So without further ado, let's get going. I do have to bring this up, though. Here we go.
Welcome, and I call this meeting to order. Welcome to meeting number 101 of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Government Operations and Estimates.
Let me know how the audio is for this, because as usual, the government sound people always have this muted to a point.
Pursuant to Standing Order 1082 and the motion adopted by the committee on Monday, October 17, 2022, the committee is meeting on the study of the RiveCan application. Reminder, please do not put your headsets anywhere near the microphones, as it could cause potential ear damage to our very valued translators. Before I turn the floor over to Mr. Lafleur for his opening statement, last 20 minutes we will do committee business. We just need to approve a couple of budgets quickly. And then we have Mr. Bachrach's, I'll go to him first, please, just for his Canada Post motion, as he kindly pushed that back from last time so we could have our full time with Mr. Yiglik. Mr. Lafleur, we'll start with you, please, for your opening statement. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Good morning. Bonjour. Mr. Chair, I first want to acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. En tant que directeur,
As Executive Director of the Professional Integrity Division at the Canada Border Services Agency, my responsibilities include providing an independent investigation function for the agency. My team conducts investigations into allegations of employee misconduct and provides management with reports of our findings to allow them to address instances of misconduct in the workplace.
Le processus.
The process of investigating allegations takes time, and it requires a systematic approach to ensure that all evidence is properly gathered and considered prior to final conclusions being made.
Policies and procedures relating to internal investigations are issued under the authority of the Chief Security Officer of the CBSA and are aligned with the Policy on Government Security, which requires that we ensure that any significant issues regarding policy compliance, suspected criminal activity, national security concerns, or other security issues are assessed, investigated, documented, acted on, and reported to the Deputy Head and other investigative bodies as appropriate. I have been a security practitioner in the federal public service for 15 years, working in the fields of intelligence, security screening, misconduct investigations, and security operations. During this time, I have conducted, directed, and overseen hundreds of administrative investigations, both relating to employee misconduct and as part of reviews for cause of employee security screening. Key to my current role is ensuring the integrity of investigations, procedural fairness, and due process for those under investigation. It is for these reasons that it would be inappropriate for me to speak to you about certain details or matters which remain under investigation. Comme le sait le comité,
As the committee is aware, the current CBSA investigation into allegations first brought forward by Bottler AA is still ongoing. I am therefore limited in what I will be able to share about that process. What I can speak about is our investigation process and investigations in general terms. I will answer your questions to the best of my ability.
Thanks very much. Ms. Block, we'll start with you, please, for 6 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Lafleur, for joining us today to provide testimony on what has become a very lengthy and complex study into not only the ArriveCAN app, but now some investigations that are taking place within the Department of the CBSA. I want to confirm that the preliminary findings, have these been made public?
they have not.
They have not been made public. So after President O'Gorman referred the Bottler allegation for investigation, were you the individual tasked with leading this investigation from the beginning?
I am the director responsible for conducting investigations within the CBSA. So me and my team, yes, were assigned this file
Right from the beginning.
from the beginning in November of 2022.
Thank you very much. In your opening statement, as you just made, you outlined that the investigative process, and I quote, the process of investigating allegations takes time and requires a systematic approach to ensure that all evidence is properly gathered and considered prior to final conclusions being made. If that is true, if that is important, can you provide any rationale to the committee as to why President O'Gorman would imply to this committee that Mr. McDonald and Mr. Utano were guilty of misconduct? And this happened on January 18th of 2023.
So I'm not exactly sure which statement of the president you're referring to, but I can speak to my process and that we have not yet reached any conclusions relating to misconduct.
So do you think it was prudent to share initial findings with the superiors of those involved in the investigation?
What I can say is that it is normal in the course of an investigation for our investigators to share information with management so that they may take administrative measures that they feel are required pending the conclusion of the investigation.
Okay, I'm going to start with the super chats from reverse order because that was an amazing super chat listless receptionist for $5. Thank you so much. This is for LaFleur's shoulder pads fund. Great job. That's amazing.
I feel like, it's probably just not tailored correctly, or maybe...
Well, it's riding up, you can tell.
Or maybe he like lost
funny.
weight or gained weight, and that's why it's like riding like that, but...
At first, I thought you were talking about that he's like carrying the whole CBSA on his back, but then I saw his jacket and I understood. So, but I won't judge him until he is worthy of being judged. Peter G. Oh no, I got that one already. Thank you, Peter. Kim Allen with a $7 super chat. Thank you very much. Leader 1G with a $2.79 super chat. Thank you. Keep up the good work. We sure will. Thank you. Nillik with a $2 super chat. Thank you very much. Let's keep it to debate, not arguments.
That's
There
right.
you go. And the Colonel, welcome, sir, with a $5 super chat. Thank you for bringing this info to light and everything you do. Stay free, Cypher and Fox. That's the plan.
Thank you very much.
So let's continue. Kelly Block's initial line of questioning, interesting, in that she's trying to see if Mr. Lafleur is going to speak I'll say, against the president of the CBSA. So that's quite early to throw that kind of salvo, to see if he's going to align with her statements or not. And this will be an interesting line, I'm sure.
And don't forget to hit the like button for us.
And the dude with the $2 super chat, his mommy dresses him funny. He may be valuable to this. We don't know yet. So let's save. Hold your ammunition until a little later.
Did you recommend that the report be shared with the deputy heads of Health Canada and the CRA?
I did.
You did. So when did you become aware of the suspensions of Mr. McDonald and Mr. Utano?
I became aware when the matter became public through the Globe and Mail, I believe it was.
Again, I'll ask, do you think it is appropriate to suspend employees without pay when you have only completed an initial statement of fact?
I can't speak to the appropriateness of the decisions taken by other departments. Mr. Utano and Mr. McDonald are not employees of the CBSA. I can't make any assessments relating to their employment. What I can say, and I think it's important for the committee to understand, is that it is normal in the course of an investigation to ensure that mitigating measures are put in place when there are potential risks. So that is something that is in our processes, and it is why we share information to management during the course of the investigation.
So that's important, what he said. And what I'm taking from that is he's saying, listen, we found something, and we found something that constituted a risk to the government as it relates to these two. So they documented that risk and put that in a report format and then passed that along up the chain. And then the president shared that with the other agency heads, at which point they agreed that the risk was severe enough to actually suspend these guys without pay and take away their security clearance.
Isn't that what we said a little while ago? Like, because I was quite upset, if you guys remember, that the Conservatives particularly were trying to paint Utano and McDonald as whistleblowers, and they're definitely not whistleblowers. We had said that we suspected that they found something, and they found something severe enough that warranted these actions. Mm-hmm. So that's what it sounds like is being admitted to here.
So no doubt the Conservatives are going to try and dig, but I doubt that Mr. Lafleur is going to be giving anything up specific on that right now. Before we get back to it, Joanne Belial with a $13.99 super chat. Thank you very much for that, Joanne. And Tim Daly with a $5 super chat. Can you pull a Freedom of Information and request the flight logs for trips from Jamaica? I suspect Sophie had a fight and she wasn't doing economy. I don't know if you can do it on a private citizen, but you might be able to do it for Trudeau.
So how do you square that with the systematic approach of ensuring that all evidence is properly gathered and considered prior to final conclusions if, in fact, employees have been suspended without pay before a thorough investigation has been conducted?
So management may take any number of administrative measures pending the conclusion of investigation. I can speak generally. For example, if we're conducting an investigation indicating an employee may be disclosing information inappropriately, management may choose to remove their accesses to sensitive systems. So this is normal in the course of an investigation.
So were McDonald and Utano allowed to respond before their suspension?
He wouldn't be aware of that.
That decision was taken by their respective departments. I can't speak to that.
Okay, thank you. We have heard contradictory testimony from President O'Gorman as to when the investigation began. Can you provide some clarity for us? Did it start in November of 2022 or January of 2023?
We started the investigation as soon as we received the allegations from Bottler AI in November of 2022.
In November of 2022. Okay, so it took you nearly a year to provide an initial statement of fact to the president of the CBSA, which happened shortly after McDonald and Utano gave testimony critical of President O'Gorman before this committee. And so I would just say that it seems odd that there was a sudden breakthrough in the case against these individuals right after they were critical of some of the actions taken and the testimony before committee. I also want to note that you mentioned in your opening statement that you provide management with reports of your findings. Does this include providing initial statements of fact?
We provide information to management as it comes up during the investigation. Usually it is not in a formal format. This was a different case as they were not employees of the CBSA.
You know, one thing I just thought about. So the Conservatives have been taking the line from a political standpoint that the CBSA has acted in retribution for the testimony of Cameron McDonald and Antonio Utano. But something just popped into my head. Because we didn't agree that that was necessarily going on. But what if it is retribution, or at least damage control, but it's not from the CBSA?
You think it's from the Liberals?
Well, who else is really high up in the public service that has a beef with Cameron McDonald and Utano? Mindone.
Oh.
Mindone is the chief technology officer, right? So he does business with Anita Anand. He does business with Freeland. He does business with all the top liberals. So what popped into my head as this was going on is, what if this retribution isn't coming from O'Gorman? This is coming from Mindone, who is orchestrating kind of the silence of Cameron McDonald and Utano.
Did you get that kind of vibe from Mindone, though, that he would do something so evil?
He's a very cold guy.
Yeah, he's hard to read. Like, I can't get a read on his motives, on his personality. It's just very almost robotic.
Yeah, I get the sense that he can be excitable, like emotional, but in terms of his decisions, it seems he tries to be fairly cold. But the other thing is he wants to keep his job. He was just promoted to be CTO.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and if he goes down in some sort of scandal, you think he's going to be head of any IT group anywhere in Canada after this? I don't think so.
No. Yeah, like, he probably wouldn't even be able to get a consulting job.
So, anyway, this is just something that just crossed my head. I'm going to let it percolate in there for a bit, but just another possibility, because you got to consider all angles when it comes to this stuff, right? Anyway, before we get going, the Colonel with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, sir. I am a member of the Canadian Forces. Thank you very much for your service. A massive salute to you. The two of you are deserving of respect more than the chumps in office. I am extremely excited for elections and common sense coming back. Amen to that, sir. We all are.
So are we, yeah. Fingers crossed that it's this spring as predicted. So let's see what happens.
And Huntsford, nice to see you back with a $5 super chat. Morning, listening from work again. Let's hope it's a good one. Oh, and make sure to like and subscribe. Oh, and let's hope we get some Chihuahua. There you go.
Yeah, Chihuahua usually sneaks in here, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And yes, please hit that like button. We are about 500 behind. Come on, you guys can do better. I know you can.
Let's go, chat. Let's go.
I know you can.
Self-regulate. Come on. Self-regulate those likes. Let's go.
Okay, so was President O'Gorman a part of the management team that you provided reports to?
She did receive a copy of the preliminary statements of facts, yes.
So then she had direct access to the investigation of former employees who publicly criticized her. I'm wondering, again, if you can provide us with your opinion on whether or not this does not seem like it compromises the integrity of the investigation. Does it at least not concern you that someone with, in her position,
You'll have to wrap up, Mrs. Block, please.
thank you, that has, I think, implied guilt before a final investigation, holds a position in regards to the power to investigate?
So, Mr. Chair, I can assure this committee that none of the actions taken in the course of the investigation were as a result of any evidence heard before this committee. Our investigation is proceeding in parallel with the work of the committee, but not as a result of anything that you've heard.
Thank you, Mr. Fleur. Mr. Shawari, please.
So the one thing that I will disagree with Kelly Block on is, if I were doing an investigation, and it doesn't matter who it is when it comes to any of these people working for the government, and I found some potential or some very obvious, some very good evidence of nefarious activity, especially criminal activity, I would be raising that right away, and I would be flagging that, circling it, highlighting it, doing everything that I can, smoke signals and otherwise, to highlight that as a risk to the government. If you find somebody that has been doing illegal activity or something very seriously sketchy, and you're concerned about what other possible activities they could be doing within the government, you're going to raise that up, and then that's going to be flagged around. And I'm sorry, but as the head of an agency, if you receive information like that and then you do nothing, and then something happens at your agency, you're at fault because you were given the information and you didn't act on it. So I don't really agree with the I would say the angle that that Kelly Block has taken, because it's all around risk and mitigation, and that's what Mr. Lefort touched on. So just keep that in mind as you're watching this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome, Mr. Lafleur. Mr. Lafleur, you've been called as a witness under the study of ArriveCan application. So for Canadians who are watching today, I'm going to ask some pointed questions, and then hopefully we can get into
questions from Jawari.
More in-depth conversation around the investigation that's going on. Are you conducting any investigation internal as it relates to the development of the application ArriveCan?
Oh,
ArriveCan as an application is not something that we're investigating. Okay. We're investigating procurement matters around.
Okay. Are you investigating anything around procurement of any direct or indirect activities, whether it's procurement, whether it's a complaint, whether it's people's, as it relates to the application ArriveCan?
Some of the allegations that we are investigating do touch on contracts that were used for ArriveCan.
Okay, thank you. So in your testimony, you talked about that you cannot, and I quote, therefore limited in what I can be able to share about the process. What I can speak about is our investigation process and investigation in general terms. So can you tell us about your investigation process? I come from a management consulting background. We usually look at it. We look at the process. We look at the timeline. We look at the outcome. We have...
I'm sorry. I just realized something.
What's that?
Well, it seems like all of the Liberals in these committees, they're starting to talk about, this is what I've done in my past life. I used to be a consultant and everything like that. It just hit me while they're doing that. They're all going to be unemployed soon, so they're putting their resume out in committee. So they're hoping somebody picks them up after they get fired by the Canadian people.
Amazing.
Can you share with us the steps in this process, some of the outcome that anticipated and the timing of these outcomes, and who you share these documents with, or you're allowed to share these findings at the preliminary stages with?
So generally speaking, when we receive allegations of employee misconduct, we initiate a preliminary review. The point of that preliminary review is to see if there's any evidence to substantiate whether something occurred or not. If we have evidence to substantiate, we would move forward to a formal phase of the investigation. If there's no evidence to support the allegations, we would close the file. If there's exculpatory evidence at that point, we would, of course, not move forward with an investigation. We try to do that preliminary phase within 45 business days. Of course, depending on the case, that may go longer, may be shorter. Once we have made a decision to move to a formal phase of the investigation, we determine the allegations that the employees would have to respond to, and those are detailed in relation to the CBSA Code of Conduct. The respondents in the investigation are then notified of the investigation of these allegations. We then proceed to witness interviews, to interviewing the respondents, before finally, once all the evidence has been gathered, drafting an investigation report with our conclusions. That report then is shared with CBSA senior management, and they are responsible for addressing any founded allegations of misconduct.
Thank you. So are you in a position to be able to share with us whether you have completed the preliminary review?
With relation
as it relates to the investigation that you're doing? Because
yes.
it looks like it's a two-stage, and if there seems to be some evidence within the preliminary review and within the first 45 minutes, then you proceed to the second stage, which you call the formal phase. Okay, so there seems to be that first phase is completed. It was a determination that it necessitates moving into a formal phase. You have already moved into the formal phase. Can you share with us where in the process that you identified from a formal process of allegation, and then meeting and conducting interviews, and then meeting with witnesses and all of those? Are you in a position to be able to share with us where you are in that process?
So we did complete the preliminary review. We have notified the respondents of the allegations against them, and we are proceeding with witness interviews at this time.
Okay, so you're in the process of doing the witness interviews?
That's correct.
And so is it fair to assume that given the fact that you have moved into a formal phase, you found evidence that you needed to be able to further explore?
As I've stated before, that is part of the process. Before moving to a formal phase of the investigation, we have to have some level of assurance that the allegations may have occurred.
Okay. Can you give us a sense, you're very clear on the 45 days in the preliminary review. Is there any timeline established for the formal phase?
So depending on the complexity of the investigation, we aim to complete a formal investigation between 60 and 120 business days. Of course, when we're dealing with more complex files or files that involve potential criminality, those timelines can extend significantly.
Okay.
So I'm kind of confused here. You have this internal department, and maybe it's just me, but I've never heard of a director of integrity. And what does it say about your department and your agency that things are so bad that you need a department whose job is to investigate crap that goes on within your agency? Not HR, right? So, what does that tell you? And number two, he's saying, well, like if there's a potential criminality, if there's potential criminality, why are you not involving the authorities right away? That's kind of not up to you. So this is kind of odd.
So established timelines 60 to 120. If there is any criminality, potential criminality, then there is no timelines for it.
Well, that's interesting. We're past that. Before I go any further, wanted to make sure that I got to Nilix Super Chat with a $5. Thank you very much. Sorry if my comment earlier didn't make sense. Just figured out I was 15 minutes behind the live.
That's okay.
No problem at all. But yeah, so I think what we're saying is exactly what I said, is that sounds like Mr. Lafleur found criminality, because it's been a lot longer than 120 days plus 45. So he's saying their initial investigation is 45 days. They see if anything's there. If there is something there, then they will go to phase 2, and then they try and complete that within about 4 months. So the whole process should take about 5.5 months, according to this guy. But if there's criminality, then all bets are off. Well, considering this 5.5 month standard investigation is now over a year, something's there. And they obviously found something probably criminally related in terms of Utano and McDonald. So that, this is all kind of stacking up.
That's right.
Okay, I only got about 10 seconds. Is there any date established by when you're going to publish your report?
No, we'll be done when we're done.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mrs. Vignola, please, for 6.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Lafleur, for coming today. Recently, in the papers, we've read that some officials might have deleted some of their emails, and I'd like to know if that might have something to do with some hot topics these days. I'd like to know if you have seen in the past emails about a sensitive topic being deleted. Intentionally, I would say no. Now, in terms of email management, when we're talking about procurement, not just for, say, hot topics, but let's say there's a procurement process involved, is there any kind of email management process? I'm not an expert in contracts. However, as managers, we are responsible for ensuring that all decisions are documented. Thank you. So when this happens, when these are documented, is that consistent within all departments? So is the process consistent, or does each department have their own way of documenting decisions? I'm sorry that I can't give you that level of detail about this. Here at the committee, we heard from a whistleblower, and there was a process of investigation, and it appeared that people were protecting each other. So, with all due respect, when there are some very serious cases, such as the one that we are currently considering, would it be more efficient for the CBSA to investigate internally, or would it be better or more efficient for someone from the outside to investigate? Well, I would say that my role is to fulfill that role of an independent investigator, so I don't work for management as such. And this is how I explain it to my team. We are not working for them when we are conducting investigations. Now, if there were a fully independent function, yes, that could provide a certain level of assurance. But I would say that we're independent in our approach. When your investigation is finished, do your recommendations have to be, are they mandatory in terms of their implementation? Does something happen? Are those at fault, say, penalized or sanctioned? What happens after the completion of your report? Well, just a point of clarification. We only make recommendations in our report. So we outline the facts regarding the issues, and we reach our findings. We decide whether or not the allegations are substantiated, and that report is provided to management, and then it is up to them to decide whether any disciplinary steps will be taken. So there might be a verbal warning, there might be a suspension, there are a number of steps that can be taken.
So here's my issue with this whole thing. So let's say this guy is very good at what he does, and his team is very good at what they do, and they are very objective people. Let's just assume that. I still have a problem accepting an investigation into an organization that is being conducted within that organization.
Yeah, because from what I understand, this gentleman works for the CBSA's Professional Integrity Division. So they're like part of the CBSA, but they operate independently to investigate within the agency. Like, I don't know. To me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Well, like I'm curious who this guy reports to, because he's executive director, CBSA. He used to be director in the same department. So he joined in 2019, or at least in that position as a director, and then he was promoted to executive director, ironically, immediately before this investigation started. And, but like, who signs your checks? Who do you report to? Because if you report to the president of the CBSA, call yourself independent or not, you're not perceived to be independent. That's a problem with this. And, you know, the fact that you're in committee and you're like, well, you know, I know committee needs to know all this stuff, but I'm not telling you because I can't. There's a lot of just strange things about this.
So you reach your conclusions, you decide whether or not there was fault, and then management decides what to do. But when members of management are involved, is it still management that has to decide what actions will be taken? And do you think that there may be a risk of just rapping them on the knuckles and asking them to please not do this again because their reputation is involved? Well, when there is an investigation into, say, senior management, then the report goes to a higher level, higher than the agency. And it is up to them to make decisions, and they're responsible for their decisions. So your role then is not to do a follow-up on what was actually done based on the report. So you'd simply table the report. I see.
Well, who's above the agency, everybody?
The minister.
Minister of Public Health and Safety.
Which is not Marco Mendicino anymore.
Not now.
But it used to be.
Used to be. So, interesting. Well, before we go any further, the Colonel with another $5 super chat. Thank you very much, sir. Why can't we have impeachment like the U.S.? Trudeau and the whole Liberal caucus would be out of here. I don't disagree. We need some sort of process like that. And a lot of Canadians have brought that up over this case. Why can we not impeach a prime minister?
Yeah, our prime minister has way too much power.
So.
And it's just like an artifact from being part of the Westminster parliamentary system, but just way too much power. We need to take some of that away.
And Eat Me gifted One Northern Perspective gifted membership. Thank you very much for that. And it looks like Ren Scheidel ended up with that. So there you go. Make sure you give Eat Me some thank you.
And we're also about 150 likes away from 1,000. Humble's Trackers said that she will donate some memberships at 1,000. So please hit that like button. You could win a membership.
Subscription or membership carpet bomb at 1,000 likes, everybody. So let's go. And I expect every member in here to have already liked because that's what the members do. Let's go.
Now, Parliament Hill could also be called the Hill of Rumours. And let's say that parliamentarians have access to documents that aren't necessarily public. And let's say there's a rumor circulating about the content of those documents.
Uh-huh.
Would any of those kinds of things, when there was an investigation, would any of that be included? Would you include those, what is being said? You mean in terms of how members are acting or what they're saying? No. My role is to investigate people within the agency. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Lafleur, for being here with us and answering our questions
NDP.
To the best of your ability. And apologies to the committee if I'm a little slower than usual. The airplane I was on last night from Toronto suffered a cracked windshield in the air, and so it resulted in a very late night, early morning.
Well, Wait, aren't these the guys that are constantly going on about climate change with the Liberals, and he caught a flight from Toronto to Ottawa?
Yep.
Drive it. You
Yep.
can drive it in, like, what, 5 hours?
Yep. And heck, he should be riding his bike. Just saying. You want to, use any carbon? Actually, no. There's rubber on it. Should have walked it. Should have walked it. Save the environment. But leave it to the NDP to always have an excuse for something, right?
Better safe than sorry, though. Certainly don't regret turning back when something like that happens. I thought I'd start my questions around potential criminality. And, I understand there's also an RCMP investigation that is ongoing. But in your work, Mr. Lafleur, if you came across instances of fraud or other criminality over the course of your investigation, could you go over what steps you would take if indeed you came across such examples?
So I saw a comment skip past the NDP. No. And the reason is because the NDP heard the word criminality. The NDPs, doesn't matter who they are and who's sitting in this position, whether it be Backrack or Johns or Jagmeet Singh, their ears are going to perk up a lot. Because one thing I guarantee their party does not want to be associated with is criminality. So they're going to be paying very careful attention to this.
Yeah. So the Policy on Government Securities Directive on Security Management at paragraph 4.1.7 requires us to report any suspicions of criminality to law enforcement of jurisdiction. So when that does occur, we would typically first reach out to the RCMP, have a preliminary discussion to confirm whether our understanding of what occurred may be criminality. We're of course, we're not law enforcement, but we do have a responsibility to report that when we see it.
I note, and we had the ombudsperson at our last meeting, and I note in the ombudsperson's response to, in the CBSA's response to the ombudsperson's recommendations, CBSA states, the CBSA is strengthening processes and controls related to procurement planning, contract administration, corporate culture, and proactive monitoring to reduce the risk of fraud. It seems from that sentence like they feel that there is some risk of fraud that has become evident through the course of these investigations and conversations. Could you talk a little bit about what kind of instances would constitute fraud in the context of the allegations that are being made in this investigation?
So I can't speak to any specifics of the allegation, but what I can say is that anytime there is an exchange of money between the government and other parties, there is a potential risk of fraud. So people may want to circumvent internal controls to try to get something out of the system. Procurement is one area, finance is another where that may occur.
So in the context of procurement, could you provide like a very generic example of something that would clearly constitute fraud?
I can. So there have been numerous, sadly, cases in the past around false invoicing, either completely false businesses invoicing to the government and maybe an employee circumventing internal controls to sign both sides of a transaction. That would be clear fraud. From a vendor's perspective, submitting fraudulent documents would be could be considered fraud. There's any number of scenarios.
Isn't that interesting? He could have said resume fraud. He could have talked about any number of things. No, went straight to money. So I wonder what kind of financially related fraud has been going on. And that's probably criminal activity. So there you go. And well done, chat. You hit over 1,000 likes now. And that prompted Humble Tracker to drop 20 Northern Perspective gifted memberships. Thank you so much, Humble. So great job, everybody. Thank you very much. Over 1,000 likes and 1,336 concurrent viewers. Welcome, everybody. So this is going to get interesting very quickly, I think. And huge ass, member for 2 months. It looks like you squeezed through the door. Say, ombudsperson again. I dare you. I double dare you. There you go. Ombudsperson.
Yeah, pass.
There you go. And make sure I didn't miss anything here. Looks like we're all up to date. So, yeah, this is interesting. This is they're getting into the cash aspect here, and there's we suspected in the beginning is there any kickbacks going here between the agency and the staffing agencies and Dalian and GC Strat, like all this is all one big spider web that's all connected, and we've talked about it in the past. So it'll be very interesting to see where this leads today. Willow with a $6.99 super chat. Hi Cypher and Fox, I'm a dog and like digging. Can dogs buy memberships too? Well, as long as dogs have a credit card, I'm sure they can buy memberships. And Peter H. with 5 gifted Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you very much, Peter. Very much appreciated. And I see people are winning the lottery as they're being handed out. So, all right, let's keep going.
And is looking for instances of fraud or other criminality within the specific scope of your investigation?
It's within scope of my duties. I have another function within my team that aims to identify potential fraud, corruption, misuse using the agency's data through proactive data analytics. As we get into a file like this and we see evidence of potential fraud, we would report that to law enforcement.
Shifting gears a little bit, I know Mr. Utano and Mr. McDonald came to committee at a previous meeting. I wasn't at that meeting, but I'm familiar with what happened, and they brought a number of documents. You're familiar with these, I assume. Were those authorized and provided by the CBSA?
I'm not familiar with the documents that they would have provided to committee.
Okay. Moving on to the issue of security clearance, one of the issues at play here is the fact that GC Strategies, which had participated in the procurement process, did not have the document safeguarding capability that was stated as a requirement of the procurement. Could you describe document safeguarding requirements for sensitive procurements like the ArriveCan contracts?
I can speak generally. Again, that's not my area of expertise, but I have some exposure to it as a security practitioner. So when we're talking about document safeguarding, it means that the vendor may be required to hold protected information within their physical premises or within their IT systems, which would be different than if they were working solely within CBSA space, where they may have access to systems of ours. But when they control it, they need to have measures in place to protect it.
And what's the risk of misclassifying document safeguarding capability requirements in a procurement process?
In what regard, sorry?
Well, if a company that is participating in the procurement does not have the stated document safeguarding capabilities and is given the work anyway, what is the risk at play?
Obviously, there's a risk of potential disclosure of that information if it's not kept protected. Traditionally, we're talking about like certified filing cabinets, things like that. More modern times means encryption on their systems if they're going to be holding protected information. So obviously that's
Gentlemen, thanks very much. Mr. Brock, please, for 5.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Lafleur, with all due respect, your investigation in this matter is seriously flawed.
Whoa.
You talk about your 15 years of experience working on hundreds of administrative investigations. You highlighted today in your opening statement that your key role is to ensure the integrity of the investigation, procedural fairness, and due process for those under investigation. And those under investigation have been targeted by you as Mr. Cameron McDonald and Mr. Antonio Utano. They're the only two individuals under investigation, and what you have done so far, sir, is done anything but to ensure procedural fairness. So much so that they've retained a lawyer, and a lawyer has brought an action in the Superior Court of Justice, and you, sir, are named as a defendant, as well as the Attorney General of Canada and the CBSA and Aaron O'Gorman, seeking declaratory relief that their rights to participate in this process has been compromised by you. You're aware of that?
Hello, Mr. Brock.
Yeah,
Man,
he doesn't mince words, does he?
He came out swinging. Swinging. So, all right. Well, Mr. LaFleur, you better fix your jacket and stand up straight because Mr. Brock's talking to you.
Right. And sir, you don't have a legal degree, do you?
I do not.
No, and you don't understand the difference between a criminal standard of proof or a civil standard of proof, do you?
I do have some understanding of the difference.
Proof beyond a reasonable doubt on the criminal spectrum, beyond the balance of probability on the civil spectrum. And you understand the difference between fact and allegation, don't you?
Of course.
Yet I've got access, sir, to your Project Helios preliminary statement of fact for both Cameron McDonald and Antonio Utano, and you interchange the concept of fact, which is a proven entity, and allegation. In fact, the title of the document, Project Helios, Preliminary Statement of Facts. That's misleading, and it's wrong, isn't it, sir? Because these are allegations.
So the report itself is a point-in-time document, right?
Sir? These are allegations. Allegations brought by Bottler AI. Yes or no?
There are allegations.
They're not a proven fact, are they?
They are not.
So I would suggest to you, you be much careful in the future as it relates to this investigation and other investigations, that you understand, sir, that the clear difference between an allegation and a fact, because you interchange this throughout your report.
So, wow. So, sounds like Brock has his initial 45-day investigation that he completed that led to the, as Mr. LaFleur says, the more formal phase of this. And just on a technical aspect, I would agree with Mr. Brock in that if this guy is using allegation and fact as interchangeable words, that's a problem.
That's a big problem.
Because you can't. An allegation is it's essentially a statement of hypothesis of wrongdoing.
Yeah, like, I think Cypher ate all the cookies in the cookie jar.
I didn't prove it. Right?
Right.
So, and the fact is I have a picture of Cypher eating cookies in the cookie jar.
All of them.
All of them. And then waving at me and saying I ate all the cookies, Fox. So that would be the fact. And the fact supports the allegation. So if he's using that term interchangeably, the problem is that calls the whole process into question. And it undermines the credibility of the investigation. That's a big problem. Glaxy with a $20 super chat. Sorry I missed the last live stream. Apologies, I'm late to this one. We will forgive you, but just this time, Glaxy. Next time, be on time. Just kidding. Thank you very much for showing up. We really appreciate it, and thank you very much for your super chat. Willow with a $7 super chat. Well, you guys get 5 ARFs then. ARF, 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 and then some paw prints. Thank you very much for that, Willow. I should have had Fox bark. Ryan Peplinsky with a $7 super chat. Was Larry Brock in a boy band in the late 1980s called New Kids on the Brock?
Nice.
I wouldn't want to see Mr. Brock in a boy band, and no offense, Mr. Brock, I wouldn't want to hear you sing either.
Huge ass with the $2 super chat says, point of order, Larry Brock is a big blue meanie. Not like, we don't want to point of order because we don't want to stop him. We just want to let him go and watch. It's amazing.
At least his jacket is fit right.
And the statement of fact, and this preliminary statement of fact, was ultimately sent on to the new two departments that Mr. McDonald and Mr. Utonio are employed by, right?
They were.
Yeah, and you expressed serious concerns, notwithstanding that nobody has been interviewed, that Mr. McDonald hasn't been interviewed, that Mr. Utonio hasn't been interviewed, that Mindone hasn't been interviewed, that Aaron O'Gorman, the president of the CBSA, hasn't been interviewed. Former President John Osowski has not been interviewed. You've identified a number of key individuals you want to be interviewed, and none of them have provided you with an interview, have they?
I'm not going to speak as to...
Well, I have the information right before me, sir. It's very clear that none of them have agreed to interview with you yet.
Damn. I think Brock almost dropped an F-bomb.
Yeah, you can't drop F-bombs in committee. No.
It really sounded like, it sounds like he was like, well, you can all you want. Yeah, Mr. LaFleur is getting rattled here.
If I could add a point of clarification there. So the report was a point in time.
I don't care about
assessment
point in
of the
time.
evidence on December
This
19th.
this is affecting the lives
So what
and the
are we
livelihood of Mr. McDonald and Mr. Utonio.
So just one moment, Mr. Brock.
Can I ask my colleague, Mr. Brock, allow the witness the same amount of time to respond?
No,
Because
it
I'd
is-
like to hear,
Right.
the line of question is very
we-
interesting. I'd just like to hear the response.
I appreciate both of you. Stop. I've stopped the clock, but we've established in this committee it is the members' time. So please continue, Mr. Brock.
You made conclusions that were so significant that you felt that these were proven facts of serious employee misconduct, so serious that you required the RCMP to investigate at least 2 criminal charges, fraud and bribery, and then later on in this report, you declare that there's absolutely no evidence of bribery.
Wow. Okay. So I guess Michelle can't talk about what's in there, but Brock sure can. Holy. This is fascinating. Okay, I'm going to let him finish this, but I just clued into what Brock's doing here.
As outlined by Bottler AI in their allegations. You remember saying that? That to date, there is no evidence of bribery? Did you actually share that with the RCMP? I bet you didn't.
That we have
Yeah. Did you share that with the RCMP?
we have provided information to the RCMP.
Did you share the fact that you have no evidence to support the allegation of bribery with the RCMP? Yes or no? It's a simple question, Mr. LaFleur.
I disagree. It's a yes or no question. We have provided.
Answer the question, Mr. LaFleur. Did you advise the RCMP that you uncovered no evidence of bribery? Yes or no?
The RCMP has the evidence that we have collected.
I'm going to interrupt here. We are out of time, but a very straightforward question has been put to you. Could you please respond in a yes or no fashion, Mr. LaFleur?
As to whether I've specifically told the RCMP we have found no evidence of, I'm just seeking clarity on that.
Could you repeat the question, just a very quick
Certainly,
one?
for
and then
the
we have to go to
sixth
Mr.
time,
Sousa.
I'll repeat the question very slowly and carefully for you, Mr. LaFleur.
And be polite about it.
I will be.
And be polite about it.
Baller AI raised concerns regarding bribery involving Christian Firth and Cameron McDonald. You raised that as a significant concern in your preliminary statement of fact. Paragraph 50 of your report
Mr. Brock, the
indicates that there was no evidence to substantiate the allegation of fraud. My question is, did you share your opinion that this allegation of fraud was unsubstantiated to the RCMP, yes or no?
That's not what the report says.
Sorry?
With respect, that's not what I say in the
I can-
report.
I can read it out.
I'm
Have
going
you-
have no
to
evidence?
interrupt. I think we're going to get back to this in the next round, and we will re-clarify.
Okay. I think a lot happened there, and a lot more happened that wasn't said that actually was said. So let's start with 5 gifted Northern Perspective memberships from Galaxy. Thank you very much for that. Craig Robinson with a $2 super chat. Mr. LaFleur, I don't use them interchangeably. I don't think any
Nor
of us
should
do.
you.
And Neil McLean gifted 50 Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you so much, Neil McLean. We very much appreciate that, and I'm sure everybody here also appreciates that. Looks like you gifted one to yourself, so you won your own lottery. That's great. And Nillik with a $2 super chat. Brock was just casually has the info, but he is hiding.
Yeah, how about that, eh?
Yeah, that's interesting. Crash78 with 10 gifted Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you so much, everybody, and all of the gifted memberships tonight. Absolutely amazing. So, here's what I think happened there. I think Brock was speaking to Mr. LaFleur, but I think he was also speaking to Canadians, and he was also speaking to the NDP, who may not have seen this report. I think he was, in his questioning, he was trying to tell us what was being found there. And again, Brock knows this was a moment in time, and this moment in time was last year. Actually, in 2022, for that matter, if it's 45 days. And I'm wondering if Mr. Brock knows or suspects that evidence of bribery and fraud has been found since then, which is why Mr. LaFleur can't give a yes or no answer. Because Mr. Brock is asking based on the preliminary statement of fact. And if there has been subsequent evidence of fraud and bribery found, then Mr. LaFleur can't just say, well, no, we haven't told the RCMP because since that report, we have found it. So I'm wondering if this is just a very clever way of Brock getting an answer without needing the direct answer. So this is very interesting. This tells me that through the subsequent investigation, LaFleur has found evidence of bribery and fraud, which is criminal activity. That's huge, folks. That and if that is the case, again, this is an allegation. This isn't a fact. But I'm just going on what Brock is saying and what he's not saying, and assuming he's not a dumb individual. If that's the case, this whole thing blows wide open. Wide open. And as we said before, this may end up now, along with the SDTC scandal, this may be what takes down this government if this continues to just open up like a flower in spring.
Well, I wonder if it's going to get to a point and then the Liberals will dissolve Parliament because they don't want it going any further. But I have a very good feeling that the Conservatives, when they win, will just start committee right back up again.
Yeah. And because, you know, they want to make an example of Trudeau, that's for sure, and his government. But again, this is just, it's the chess game, right? And this is what these are the moves that I'm seeing in front of me. So very, very interesting. So we have Vesper Design with a $10 super chat. Barnaby, I thought you were going to ban him. Larry Brock destroyed the periodic table because Brock only recognizes the element of surprise.
Science joke, I love it.
Hunsford with a $10 super chat. I'm a bit late, but I can make it to Ottawa from Welland in about 7 hours on 1 tank of gas. I do it every 3 months. They could easily drive from Toronto 100%. And they'd use less carbon too. And Hunter with a $5 super chat. They easily used more fuel than I would round trip just taking off
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
bloody
a really good
hypocrites.
point.
Absolutely.
That's a really good point.
So, anyway, this is going to get interesting, folks.
Mr. Sousa, please go ahead.
Oh, this is not about a ride can.
Thank you for appearing here today. You know, it's infuriating that we have an ongoing investigation. You made clear that you're taking the steps necessary to provide for that investigation so you can have a proper outcome. Some are arguing that you may be withholding information during this process, but in fact, you are taking the necessary steps. What's appropriate to disclose now versus what you're going to come forward with at the end needs to be understood, and I presume the line of questioning is to that effect. However, I also recognize that some of the prosecution efforts that this committee seems to be playing throughout this process, and now they're defending the very individuals that they prosecuted in the past and have made assertions that they have actually been dealing inappropriately and have been dealing in a way that is of misconduct. They've made that assertions. They've actually claimed that others and those individuals themselves have been lying to this committee, and now they're putting you under the gun for the same issue, and yet you're the one doing the investigation. So I'm just trying to comprehend, notwithstanding the antics here, that we get to the truth. And that's what they seem to be wanting, but they're making allegations themselves. And now they're prosecuting those very individuals. Now they're coming back trying to protect those individuals who they themselves have accused of lying. And we're not accusing you of anything. Let's be clear. We want to make certain that the investigation takes its proper course and that the results and the outcome is best understood. And I'm having some difficulty trying to understand how, well, first I have to ask, is it common to use general contractors, then they subcontract? That's normal.
It is something that's allowed within procurement rules based on my understanding.
And those things come with contracts.
Correct.
And then they come before the government in terms of what is being proposed and what is understood and what is they agreed to during those contracts, correct?
Part of the process.
So how do you investigate a situation when there are no contracts? There's no contracts with a general contractor, there's no contract with a subcontractor. So, and the allegations are engaged in those areas, but there's nothing of legal consequence. So how do you proceed to investigate something that doesn't actually have contracts?
So I can speak generally that what we investigate would be around whether the individuals with authority exercise their delegation appropriately, whether the processes were followed, whether the various procurement policies were respected.
So can you explain the difference between an internal investigation and something that the RCMP would conduct?
So our investigations are with respect to whether the code of conduct was followed by employees in the course of their duties. The RCMP would be responsible for investigating potential criminality.
Like, this again, I'm still grappling with this guy's position because, you know, I don't see this as a position in other organizations. I'm also grappling with Louise A. King's a $5 super chat. Remember, Brock was a Crown prosecutor. Yes, he absolutely was,
Yeah,
and especially
I bet he was an awesome one too.
Yeah,
I bet he didn't take any BS.
And especially with Alan with 50 Northern Perspective gifted memberships. Thank you so much, Alan. Very, very much appreciated. And Will Kowalchuk with a $10 super chat. I would just like to say I love Northern Perspective. That is all involved. And thank you to all in chat. If it wasn't for all of you, we wouldn't get the truth about this corrupt government. This corrupt people in government. Thank you all. And Glaxy with a $5 super chat. I love how Brock leaves when Snooza starts talking like it's not worth his time. Well, it isn't.
It's not worth anybody's time.
And looks like some of this skipped me a bit. CP Holidays with a $7 super chat. What corruption that has been exposed is unreal. How many heads will roll when CPC's complete full investigations? There's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lineup.
Yeah, and the thing is, when the Conservatives get a majority government, they will also have a majority in committees. So
no more shutting down committee.
Yeah, exactly. No more stupid motions, wasting time, that kind of garbage.
Well, they'll still have to go through the stupid motions, but in terms of anything that the Liberals are going to try and do that's shady,
they can just shut it right down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with the NDP. Women hauling. Oh, I can't see your last the last word. Sorry about that. $13.99 super chat. Thank you very much. Mr. Brock is very intelligent and knows how to manage formulating questions. I believe this was intentional and knows he can trip up the unsuspecting and ill-prepared. Yeah, I think so. And again, he can get the responses that he needs by the lack of responses as well.
And that was from Women Hauling Oversize.
Women hauling
Thank
oversize. And then one more. We have Vesper Designs. He's still not banned, Barnaby. Last one, I swear. Sousa knows nothing. In fact, he knows less than nothing, because if he knew that he knew nothing, that would be something, and that would be true wisdom. So here's your philosophy education for today, everybody. Spoken by my boy Socrates back in the day. The only true wisdom is knowing that you know nothing. There you go.
And you, since out of your own accord, you've provided the RCMP with an indication of that, and you've given them and released information to them. Have you had any discussions subsequent to that with the RCMP?
We have engaged with the RCMP throughout the investigation to provide them information as per their lawful requests.
It's specific to Bottler's allegations.
That's correct.
And where there is no contracts.
There was no contract with Bottler.
Right. So some here are claiming that maybe you're withholding information from us. Is that true?
Not at all.
And the information that you have, you've given it to the RCMP. And then they have but they haven't conducted an outcome. They haven't determined any guilt, right?
That's my understanding.
Have you determined any guilt?
No, our investigation is ongoing.
So what is there that you can explain to us that would give us comfort that there's some wrongdoing?
Time out. Sousa, you're actually proving Brock's point. I agree with Vesper. Sousa doesn't, he knows nothing, and he doesn't even know that he knows nothing. This is how he's proving Brock's point, because he's saying, okay, so the RCMP hasn't determined any guilt. That's correct. You haven't determined any guilt. That's correct. Brock's point is, then why are these guys suspended without pay? That's what this all comes back around to. So he's literally unwittingly playing into this this game that the Conservatives are playing. Pay attention, Sousa. Pay attention. There's smarter men than you in that room, and they're running circles around you and your party. Mike Bamlett with a $5 super chat. Thank you very much for that. Brock engages in the find out portion of the F around spectrum. There
Clever.
you go.
Clever.
At this point, you're investigating any possibility of that, correct?
We're investigating the possibility of that, and there have been extensive disclosures to this committee pursuant to your production orders. You have a significant amount of evidence to look at as well.
And there's one thing that my brain has been playing back, the testimony of Lafleur and Brock's questioning. If you recall, Brock had said, he was asking in the question, did you or did you not provide your opinion to the RCMP that there was no evidence of bribery and fraud? And Lafleur danced around a little bit, but I just recalled he did trip up. Did you catch it? Because what he said was, the report doesn't say that.
Not that it didn't happen or that's incorrect. It was that the report doesn't say that.
Because Brock was saying your report says that there's no evidence that you have found to substantiate bribery, and then he was kind of stuttering there, and he said, and then he came back and he said the report doesn't say that. So that tells me that Lafleur is saying that the report says there is evidence. So I hope Brock picked up on that, and he's going to address that later.
Right. And as you can tell through this committee hearings, we've had a lot of discussions around the activities, not just of Bottler, but other possible allegations that could be done. And of course, the Ombudsman came back with a number of recommendations. Are you aware of those recommendations?
I am.
Did you participate or cooperate with the Ombudsman during that procedure?
Yes, so I have responsibility for security screening for the agency, so we provided information around security screening questions that they had.
And there were practices that were explained that I understand has been prevalent throughout decades, even under the previous government. Is that correct?
It is my understanding that some of the issues raised have been systemic in government for some.
I know that some members across have suggested that something has just happened, which is not the case in terms of providing for, especially during the case of the pandemic, a lot of contracts were initiated, but then they've subsequently used their services to do other functions. Is that correct? I think they call them swaps or bait and whatever they're called.
Bait and switch or something like that. I can't speak to those details.
Swap?
Yeah, have you seen that occur in the past?
Like, do you even come to committee, Sousa? Like, do you listen?
Does he try to sound like an idiot on purpose, or is that like an accident? What is that?
I think it's purely accidental. I think he's trying to sound smart. Legit. I think he's trying to sound smart. And he comes off as the complete opposite. And I don't think I'm going to be able to call him anything else but snoozer for the rest of this.
I haven't had that many procurement-related investigations, so I have not.
Okay. And do you foresee anything of negativity there, or is there something wrong that's happened? Or did the ombudsman say that there was any wrongdoing or any misconduct?
I don't want to misspeak. I haven't fully reviewed the ombudsman's report. I do note that they had concerns and that we've taken steps to address them.
Do you know what our response has been in respect to the ombudsman's report? Are you aware of cooperation or recommendations put
Just
forward?
a brief answer, Mr. Fleur. We're past our time.
The committee, sorry?
Yeah, no. The CBSA.
I am aware that we've strengthened procurement practices.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Vignola, please, for 2.5.
Okay. First off, 1,500 viewers. Excellent. Welcome, everybody, to tonight's coverage of Committee on ArriveCAN. Getting to some super chats. Diane Sylvain with a $5 super chat. Mr. Lafleur wore a big jacket to hide in as he knew Brock would be asking him questions. That was a good one. Glaxy with a $5 super chat. If I understand the assignment, the boogeyman checks his closet for Mr. Brock.
That sounds about right.
Geese with Teeth with a $5 gifted Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you very much for that, and make sure you give the Geese with Teeth some thanks, or they will come and bite you. $7 from Willow. Thank you very much. My dad already subscribed, so I can't. I love you guys. Thank you for all that you do. Northern Perspective will be a household name. Well, I don't know if we want that, but
Sure we do, and then Canadians won't have to watch CBC anymore.
Well, there you go, and you'll tune into Northern Perspective at nights, and everyone gathers around the computer with your Tim Hortons and your tea and your donuts. There you go. A couple can dream, can't we?
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Mr. Lafleur. I've read several documents. In terms of Butler's allegations to the CBSA, include the word bribery, because I've read documents and I don't remember the word bribery being included in those allegations. I couldn't say I don't have the report in front of me, but I don't believe so. Well, I'll check again then, because I think I have a good memory, but you never know. Now, do the documents that were provided to the committee, are they included, rather, in your investigation? Because some documents, I believe, have been deleted. Let's say emails, for example. So is it possible that some emails or documents might have been deleted? Well, during our investigation, I have access to all information from the agency, including what we've received, yes. Now, what happens if emails have been deleted before you've had an opportunity to see them? What can you do in order to access those emails? Well, our investigations, our administrative investigations, we cannot necessarily go and seize computers, for example. So we are limited in what we can do. If we have a copy of an email, well, we'll have that copy on the same day, but the agency system, the government system, only gives you a period of 30 days in terms of backup. So the emails might still be there. And so it all depends on when the email would have been deleted. Well, do you have access to those backups? Yes. Thank you. Do I still have time?
Go ahead, Mr. Bachrach.
Messy. I'll pick up where my colleague just left off. This question of the deletion of emails, I think there are many questions swirling around this, and I understand there are aspects of this you probably can't speak to, but perhaps the question I'll ask is, over the course of your investigation, is there any correspondence that's either been referenced in ATIP requests or referenced in interviews with witnesses that you have not been able to obtain through the avenues that are available to you? You mentioned you can't seize computers, but I assume you would have access to the CBSA's servers and central repositories of correspondence. Is there any information that has been referenced, specifically correspondence, that's been referenced in ATIP requests or referenced in interviews with witnesses that you haven't been able to access?
The lack of documentation on the procurement files is something that has been noted, and I believe the procurement ombudsman speaks to that as well. But I have seen no evidence to date, again speaking generally, not about any specifics, of evidence being withheld from ATIP requests or being actively deleted to keep them from our investigation.
Okay, thanks for that. I think one of the lines of questioning that my colleague Mr. Brock has brought up relates to this preliminary statement of fact. I haven't seen that statement of fact. However, he made some pretty, I think some pretty colorful allegations about your own competency as an investigator. You referenced in your opening remarks the terms of reference under which your investigation is taking place, that there are procedures that are set out by CBSA for internal investigations. Does anyone sort of check your work as an investigator? Is there any way for us the committee to confirm whether or not indeed the preliminary statement of fact followed the protocols and procedures that are established by the agency? How does that process work?
So you can see the policy on government security, which is something that's open to anyone, and the requirements therein relating to the sharing of information when there have been concerns raised. We do engage in a yearly quality assurance process through a third party that comes in and looks at our work and gives us recommendations with regards to our investigations and in respect to policy. So that's something that we have systemically within.
That is our time. Thanks very much. Back to you, Mr. Brock, please.
Thank you, Chair. Paragraph 50, page 10 of the statement of fact.
I'm sorry, I'm just laughing because Bachrach is, sitting to Brock's left there, and he's like, "Yeah, I haven't seen this. I haven't seen the statement of fact." Brock's like, "All right, page 50, paragraph 3."
I think we're about to see a man get murdered.
Like, damn. Again, there's always a plan when it comes to the Conservatives when they're doing this. Anyway, let's get to a couple of these things. I have a member comment from Rock Monkey. "Sorry, guys, dog stole my phone."
Amazing. I hope that was a real photo of your dog because she's really cute.
So, that's a monkey.
No, the Willow account.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Louise A. King with a $5 super chat. "My favorite words to hear when Sousa is doing his questioning segment. I'm sorry, your time is up." Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't like listening to that guy.
And Rock Monkey with a $7 super chat. "Thank you very much. Cheers, guys, and thank you." Thank you.
Thank you.
And Glaxy with a $2 super chat. Skipping some ads for you guys because it popped up. "Michelle Lafleur is too turtly for the Turtle Club." I agree. And Peter G, Drew Tech with a $2 super chat. I have to say this again, Brock. And Trish Pro with a $2 super chat. Brock absolutely rocks.
And I want to read this comment just because I saw it in the comments. It was funny. It's from Jonas Jones. It says, the difference between John Wick and Larry Brock is the pencil. We did a short about Michael Cooper where we compared him to John Wick, and the pencil, not like the scene, he's not harming people, but like when the mob boss was talking to his son, describing that John Wick is deadly and can use a pencil to harm people. Check it out. It didn't get circulated very well early on. Well, number one, it was early on when the channel was fresh, but number two is I had an F-bomb in it.
Yeah, the mob boss describes John Wick walking into a bar and murdering 3 men with a pencil. Larry Brock walks into committee and murders 3 men with a report. So
there you go.
There you go. And Nillig with a $2 super chat. Like I said, Brock just casually has the info. Yeah, just casually. And I guess he doesn't like to share with others.
Report as it relates to Cameron McDonald is largely redacted. It starts unredacted as follows. It is important to note that the true motivation behind these actions are unclear, and that while the Butler AI complaint appears to indicate that Christian Firth solicited a bribe for Cameron McDonald exhibit number 10, there has been no evidence gathered to date in this regard. I'll take it by your non-response, sir, that you don't want to share the truth as to whether or not that important piece of your investigation was shared with the RCMP. Now, on the issue of deleting emails, Mindone, just to clarify, has never been the subject of this particular Project Helios investigation. Is that correct?
As was published.
He's not part of the investigation?
If I could answer. So
I'm asking you, is he part of the investigation or not?
On December 11th, I received allegations, as has been made public, relating to Mr. Doan.
Is he still subject of an investigation?
That review is ongoing.
That review of whether or not he's going to be the subject of an investigation is underway, so that's a possibility.
The review of the allegations we received.
So that's a possibility.
Correct.
Correct? Now, Mindone confirmed this, and through ATIPs delivered to CBSA has confirmed that Mindone has 4 years' worth of highly relevant, sensitive emails between the years of 2018 to 2022, which not only captures the pandemic and the ArriveCam scandal, but as well as the Butler AI investigations, have just mysteriously been corrupted. He's not taking responsibility for deliberately deleting that. The approximate amount of those emails is roughly 7 gigabytes or 1,700 emails. You would agree with me, sir, that emails are supposed to be...
Sorry, Mr. Brock.
Sorry, point of order.
Yeah.
Mr. Bacharach, and I don't believe any of us has actually seen this statement of facts. Do you have a copy that you can share with us? Because we're looking for it. I don't think...
I'll address that. I'm the only one on the committee that has a copy of it.
So can we have it distributed so we can...
No. I'll discuss it on Wednesday. I think Mr. Brock indicated he received the information from 2 of our witnesses who have received it.
So we're not allowed to see it?
I'll discuss it Wednesday. But I'm the only one with the copy of it, right? Myself and the clerk are the only people with a copy of it right now. But I'll address it.
But Mr. Brock got it from a witness?
Not from the committee and not from CBSA.
So how did Mr. Brock get it?
I just told you.
He got it from Cameron McDonald. And, well, actually, no. He said he got it from 2 of the witnesses.
So it could be any 2 witnesses.
So, okay, so what's going on is the Liberals are crapping their pants right now because Brock has evidence.
Intel that they don't.
Yeah, and they don't. And being completely objective here, I understand why they're in a tiff. Because in theory, if you're bringing witnesses in and you're using evidence, technically everybody on the committee should have that evidence. Just from an objective point of view. So I understand why they're a bit in a tiff. Now, Sousa is saying, why don't we have it? And then Kelly's saying...
I'll tell you in 2 days.
Yeah, he's trying to explain that I didn't give this to Mr. Brock. I haven't given it to anybody.
I do have a copy, and the clerk has a copy, but we were not the ones who gave it to Mr. Brock.
Right. And he can't make Mr. Brock do anything, but it is quite funny how this worked out. Jerry Michaela with a $5 super chat. Thank you very much. Barnaby Rocks, thank you for your help. You are the best. Excellent. Dan Demand 966 with a $2 super chat. LaFleur is about 2 LaFleur behind his diaper. Nillik with the $2 super chat. I like I said, Brock just casually has the info. Yeah, I got that one. Will Kalwachuk with a $5 super chat. Okay, I'm confused. Are the NDP trying to get on the good side of the Conservatives?
I would if I were them, because they're going to be the next government.
I don't think they're trying to get on the good side of the Conservatives. I think they're trying to get on the bad side of the Liberals, if that makes any sense.
It's the same thing.
They're trying to distance themselves from the Liberals. Glaxy with a $2 super chat. Agreed, Barnaby is the man, the myth, the legend. And
He sure is.
With another $2 super chat. Go away, Snooza. And Kitty Nukes with a gifted Northern Perspective membership. Thank you very much for that. So, all right, let's continue the whining by the Liberals.
It's a point of order. How is it that certain committee members are receiving it and not all committee members?
This is not a point of order, Mr. Souza. I've explained to you, I'm the only one in the committee that has a copy of it, myself and the clerk. No one else has received a committee from this
Mr. Brock
committee.
has a copy.
I'm sure Mr. Brock also has copies of ATIPs that have not sent to us. I have copies of ATIP that have not been sent to the committee. You have emails that have not been sent to the committee because they were sent to him separately. I think Mr. Brock, at the very beginning of the meeting, if you were listening, indicated he received it from the witnesses, which I assume are Mr. McDonald and Mr. Utano, who have received a copy. So, yeah, I think it was discussed at the very beginning of the meeting. Mr. Brock, you're at 2 minutes and 10 seconds, so you have 2:50 left. Go ahead.
So in short, pay attention, Snooza. You dork.
Well, I think he understood. I think he was just kind of whining about it. Well, why does Brock have it? I want one.
Yeah, imagine how Snooza was in school.
Please.
Thank you, Chair. Min Doan at the time was the vice president of the CBSA. You'd agree with me, sir, that deleting emails is an extremely serious offense.
It would be a breach of the code of conduct to willfully delete emails.
And it's incumbent on an IT professional, as Min Doan was, to protect work emails dealing with official matters, correct?
It is part of our responsibilities. Yes.
And the level of seriousness increases dependent on the position that a public servant holds. In this case, a low-level administrative data entry individual is vastly different in terms of the serious scale than the vice president of the CBSA when you reference deleting emails. Would you agree with that? When was the president, Aaron O'Gorman, informed about Mr. Doan's deleted emails?
We have not concluded that there were any deleted emails.
When was she informed, sir?
She was informed of the allegations when I received them.
Of the deleted emails?
The allegations as I received them.
When was it?
December 11th is when I received them. I can't recall exactly which date I would have.
When was the Auditor General notified of 4 years' worth of deleted relevant emails?
Again, one point of clarification, I have no evidence that there has been deletion at this point. We are looking into the matter.
Can you answer the question, Mr. LaFleur? When was the Auditor General notified of 4 years' worth of a Vice President's deleted email account? When was she notified, and by whom?
So I can say that during our various engagements with the Office of the Auditor General, we have provided them with all of the information that we had available.
Did you inform the Auditor General yourself, sir, or someone under your control that the Auditor General received evidence of 4 years' worth of deleted emails by Min Doan, Vice President? Yes or no?
Again, I'm not sure what you're referencing. I did meet with the OAG.
Chair, can we get some clarity, please? My questions are very direct.
Yeah, Mr.
And this
LaFleur,
witness has a
we
hard
do ask
time.
you just respond and just a direct answer, please. If it's a yes or no, please a direct yes or no, but otherwise a direct answer so we can move on.
Wow. This is why I love when there's a conservative chair. I know
Yeah.
they're supposed to be like nonpartisan when they're in the chair position, but I don't know. I think the Conservatives just do it better.
Yeah.
And also, from what I heard, those emails weren't quote unquote deleted. They were like scrambled, right? So you can't really retrieve anything out of them.
Well, it's interesting to. I'd be interested to see what the allegation was, but here's the thing, and this is why this is very serious, and I take this very seriously. All of you should take this very seriously. So, when people shift around in positions, yeah, they can delete emails, fine. It happens. But 4 years of emails, conspicuously right before and right after all of the ArriveCan stuff, that's kind of bizarre, isn't it? And yeah, you can delete things, but my next question is like, so typically IT departments take backups. They take daily backups, they take weekly backups, they take monthly backups, and they take yearly backups.
And they're not even stored on site usually.
No, not usually. Unless you have a stupid IT department, which, it is government, so who knows. So I'm kind of confused. Now, if Mindone was able to scrub the backups, that's weird.
Well, he was the chief.
He was the CIO.
Yeah.
He was the CIO. He was head of their IT. So this is very strange. And what makes it even stranger is it's not like they just went looking for the emails and they found, oh, well, they're gone. They're not there. They're corrupted, whatever it is. No. One of the IT guys in the CBSA put up their hand, and this is probably as a result of them asking for emails. And then they went and they did some digging and were like, whoa, what's going on here? So the IT guys actually know what the hell they're talking about, right? So it sounds like one of their IT guys, probably their email administrator, is saying, guys, it looks like Mindone deliberately corrupted these, so they're irretrievable. That's a serious allegation. And I don't think that allegation would have been made lightly. So this is very, very bizarre. Just very, very bizarre. But what isn't bizarre is we are going to be getting to a couple more super chats. We have Galaxy saying, oh shit. Thanks for that. And Super Dave 2000 with a $5 super chat. In the financial industry, there is no deleting emails. It's highly illegal. This is 1,000% corruption and hiding illegal activity, par for the Liberals. Chris Akarat with a $2.79 super chat. My next pit bull will be named Brock. That's amazing.
And I want to congratulate everybody because we just reached 1,600 viewers for the first time on the stream ever.
Wow.
So thank you everybody for joining us. Please make sure you hit the like button. It helps push the stream out to even more viewers.
And thank you for chat for hitting all the likes. That's the reason. That's the reason why we hit 1,600 concurrent viewers.
It's so important for us to get this information out to other Canadians. So thank you everybody for helping us do that.
So all right. Let's get back to it.
You notify the Auditor General of 4 years' worth of deleted emails.
I notified the Auditor General that I had received allegations to that.
And when did you notify her?
In December, after I received the
December of 23?
23.
Okay. Was the Treasury Board Secretariat informed?
No.
Did you inform the RCMP of potentially 4 years' worth of highly confidential, relevant emails?
We are required to report potential criminality. I have no evidence of that at this time.
Thank you, Mr.
Wow.
Brock.
No evidence
Okay, that
of
is-
potentially
that is our time, Mr.
deliberately
Brock.
deleting emails, and that is not criminality to you?
Mr. Brock, that is our time.
Wow.
Look at Kelly.
Look at that smirk. Love it.
You hear Brock. Wow. Holy crap. Sounds like the way I say it on the streams. That's funny. Troy Boyarski with 10 gifted Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you very much for that, Troy. Diane Sylvain with a $50 super chat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diane.
I am quite certain there is a legal reason Brock did not have to share this statement of facts. Kelly is a good chair. Boom, direct answers. Let's go. Deleted emails. Where there is smoke, there is fire. Sousa's grandstanding is shut down. Absolutely. And Trish Pro with a $5 super chat. Does Mindone have the skills or did he get help? Well, that's the question. If Mindone, grew his career within IT and he was a system admin guy, he might know how to do that. He shouldn't have access to do that. That's the interesting thing.
Yeah, because that's the sysadmin guy's jobs.
Yeah, depending on how that would have even happened. Again, assuming there's backups. If there is no backups, then all bets are off. So, that's the one thing to take into consideration. But this is serious, man. This is really serious.
And we've got a $2 super chat from Vesper Design. Thank you very much. It says, Irony 101. LaFleur scrubbed his Twitter from 2019 to 2022. Very interesting indeed.
Things that make you go,
Mr. Baines, please, go ahead.
Oh, no.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. LaFleur, for joining us today.
Ask if it's confidential.
So the statement of fact, which we've been talking about in the
Susan
last
just told him to
few
ask
line of
this.
questioning here, is that confidential?
It is.
So the witness sharing it with a member opposite, is that some type of breach of any sort?
I'm not aware of any sharing that would have occurred.
Well, Mr. Chair here had confirmed that Mr. Brock received it from a witness. So would that be a breach of any sort in this investigation? Is this in a way undermining the investigation that's ongoing? Are they supposed to be talking about this?
I would say it depends on who it came from. Obviously, I would have concerns if that had come from a member of my investigation team.
Well, the Mr. Chair here just confirmed that it came from a witness, that Mr. Brock directly received it from one of the witnesses. Which witness, we don't know.
If it was to somebody who it was provided, and it may be considered their personal information, they are free to share it.
There you go.
As they see fit.
And give me a break. Do you really think Brock is going to make that type of rookie mistake?
No, but the Liberals are upset that he's got information that they don't.
Right,
he's putting them on the back foot now.
Oh, yeah.
He knows more than they do. And they can't even defend themselves because they don't know what they're up against.
Yeah, so now their whole line of questioning. Now, all of a sudden, the Liberals are listening. Right? All of a sudden, the Liberals are paying attention to what the hell's going on in this investigation. They weren't before. Because they thought, oh, this is going to be nothing. This is going to be nothing. Oh, some interesting stuff happened. This is going to be nothing. This has nothing to do with the ArriveCan, right? Well, now this is starting to blow up. You can see the panic starting to come into the Liberals. They are getting very, very nervous here. And as well they should be. Because they have potentially a guy who's committed a criminal act, again, potentially, as the chief technology officer of the entire Canadian federal government.
That's scary because he's handling all this sensitive information or has the ability to handle all this sensitive information.
Well, and he makes the technology decisions for the entire government.
Yeah.
So, the Liberals should be crapping their pants, virtually and figuratively.
Right, because they're the ones that appointed him, right?
Oh, yeah. And where else does this go? This is the problem. Cicely Bardot with a $10 super chat. Thank you very much for that. I much appreciate it. Daphne Devine, good to see you with a $10 super chat. Cheers. Hit another milestone, baby. And yes, I had to shake this one myself. One Sir Barnaby from Northern Perspective is a little busy, it seems. Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Barnaby, quit slacking.
Yeah. Justin Brown with a $7 super chat. Nice to see you again, sir. I think that no deletion of email and documents are to take place while the current government is in power. At least that is my understanding. Yeah, you can...
That sounds about right, yeah.
You can delete it from your inbox, but I think... I imagine you have to keep backups. That's the thing. And if the CBSA... you can't tell me that the CBSA does not have backups of their stuff. the Canada Border Services Agency? If they don't, then every IT leader in the last 5 years that has worked for that agency should be fired. That's just all I got there. Because they're talking a big game about following process and security and yada 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 yada. Then tell me where these emails are. Why can't you restore them from backup? Will Kowalchuk with a $5 super chat. I have to step out for 10 or 15. That's okay. We'll wait for you. Oh, I'm kidding.
I hope your pony gets better soon.
I have a sick pony and have to give meds. See you soon. Well, the good thing is you can just pause the stream and watch it at 1.5 speed and you'll catch right up, Will. So we'll see when you come back. Hope all is well. Daniel with a $7 super chat. Brock, the cruise missile. You can run, but you can't hide. Thank you, Northern Perspective, for all your work. Thank you so much, Daniel, for joining. And Sabotage KCCO, $2 super chat. Brew a coffee with liberal tears after this one. Yeah, absolutely. I take a double, 2 liberal tears and 2 NDP tears, please.
Okay, so it's there, but it's confidential. Then you just said it's confidential. You can't share it, but a witness can share it?
Oh, yeah. So let me get to that. So for this type of report, what it sounds like they're talking about is when, with regard to these type of reports, what is supposed to happen is if you are the subject of one of these types of investigation, they're supposed to give you a copy of it. So that sounds like what has happened. A copy of the investigation and the findings, probably redacted, which is what I'm hearing, was sent to 1, Cameron McDonald, and 2, Tony Utano. So no doubt, as part of the conservative play of trying to cozy up to these guys to get more information out of these guys, because remember, allegedly these guys have stuff on everybody, right? So of course the conservative play is going to be, it's okay, we'll help you out, give us some documents. So that's what's happened, and that's what has occurred. So they are now within the personal property of Cameron McDonald and Tony Utano. They can do with them as they wish. They could even give them to the Globe and Mail, as far as I understand. So if Brock received it from their own personal property, and this is what Mr. Lafleur has just confirmed, he's saying, oh yeah, well, Brock is entitled to have it. And then the Liberals are like, shit! So that's where they're at. And...
So I want to read this comment. I'm probably going to butcher it because I don't really know anything about IT. But Mr. F says, if the IT did their job correctly, the IMAP server doesn't delete from the server when they delete from their inbox. So with access to the server, they should be there. So that sounds like possibly emails could still be there.
Well, but again, it all depends, right? So, and if the IT guys did their job successfully, they're backing up everyone's inbox every day. So, all depends.
Did they do it?
Alice Avonlea with a $5 super chat makes me also wonder whether JT's admired country got copies of everything secret information. I don't know if they got copies of any of this stuff, if they were getting copies of it, but who knows?
If it's about them, they could share it.
So in the scope of your duties, are you concerned? You mentioned that there's been some things, some systemic issues with respect to contracts and documentation and these sorts of things. Are you concerned within your investigation now and you're uncovering things, you're finding things, if there's widespread corruption in your organization?
I've seen no indication of widespread corruption. We provided information to the president in the fall of 2023, after which she took a number of measures to strengthen procurement within the CBSA. I'm comfortable that those measures are serving their purpose.
So this incident specifically that you're seeing, is this like the first of its kind that sort of, in a way, like we've been extremely confused. It's been like a tangled web.
Because you're not paying attention.
There's still a lot of clarity that needs to come forward here. So is this an isolated incident in your time that you've seen?
It is the first time that I see a file of this complexity and seriousness relating to procurement, yes.
Okay, so if you're looking at like the Treasury Board guidelines for discipline, like in which circumstances might public servants' presence at work undermine or impede an investigation, as described in the Treasury Board's guidelines?
So I can speak to the Treasury Board standard on security screening, which outlines when an employee may need to be suspended. And speaking generally, it's when they would represent a potential security risk to the organization, to people, information, or assets, or to the conduct of the investigation. So again, speaking generally, if someone is under investigation in the workplace and still has access to witnesses, they may try to influence them, so that would be a concern. So they may be removed from the workplace to protect the integrity of the investigation.
So, seeing how Mr. McDonald and Mr. Utano were suspended, like, is this one of the risks that you thought that or CBSA is seeing, that they may have access to information, and that's why they've been limited to that access and been suspended?
So Mr. McDonald and Mr. Utano are not employees of the CBSA, so I can't speak to the decision to remove them from the workplace. I can say that generally speaking, it is normal in the course of an investigation for management to assess whether there is a need to mitigate potential risk pending the conclusion of the investigation. In the case where they have identified a potential risk, they have the responsibility to ensure that temporary measures are put in place to protect the organization, to protect the workplace, until an investigation is completed and final decisions can be taken.
There's been, we've received some feedback from some of the witnesses that have appeared here before, and they've declared that there's some challenges with their health, that they're unable to come back. Has this limited your investigation in any way?
I can't speak to any discussions that we may have had with potential witnesses. I will say that I have great sympathy for the stress that anyone involved in an investigation, whether it be a witness or someone who is under investigation, may face, particularly with the level of public scrutiny that this file has had. I can appreciate how that is extremely stressful.
Gentlemen, Mr. Genuis, please, for 5.
I bet I know what Mr. Genuis is going to say. We will take no lessons from the Liberals, Mr. Speaker!
That's rating 1600. Thank you, guys.
I hope he says something like that. That would be great.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Lafleur, you're tasked with providing an investigation internally into what happened with ArriveCan. I am interested in what seems to be the difference in the level of interest you're applying to allegations against different individuals. Your preliminary work at least seems to suggest a profound interest in allegations against Mr. McDonald and Mr. Utano, and a surprising lack of interest against Mr. Doan. I note that Mr. Doan faces serious allegations related to the deletion of documents, and that no provisional action seems to have been taken against him, while Mr. McDonald and Mr. Utano have been suspended without pay. Could you provide the committee with any explanation as to your relative much greater attention to allegations against Mr. McDonald and Mr. Utano compared to allegations against Mr. Doan?
I would disagree that there's been an undue attention given to one over the other. We received allegations from Bottler AI in November of 2022. It would be expected for that investigation to have proceeded much further than new allegations that I received in December of 2023.
Okay, so your explanation is that you received the allegations against Mr. McDonald and Mr. Utano earlier, yet Mr. Utano and Mr. McDonald received a letter notifying them of the investigations against the allegations against them on November 27th of this year. That was, again, suspiciously 20 days after their damning testimony before this committee. How are we to understand the fact that allegedly your investigation had been going on for a year, and yet they received a letter notifying them of the investigation in November of this year?
If I can have a minute, perhaps, to explain that timeline. So we did initiate an investigation in November 2022. Considering the potential criminality, when we have interactions with police, we do respect the integrity of their investigation. And in this case, we could not proceed with interviews or with notifying the individuals under investigation with respect to the RCMP investigation. So since we're talking about the same witnesses, the same evidence, we were limited in how we can proceed without negatively impacting the RCMP investigation. That scenario changed when the Globe and Mail issued their report on October 4th of 2023, and holding back on our investigation became a moot point at that point, which is why.
And yet it was still after their testimony on November 7th. Like this, even what you just said doesn't make any sense from a timeline perspective, because the Globe story that you referenced was the beginning of October, and yet it was only after their testimony before this committee that they subsequently heard from you that they were under investigation. This whole thing is just bizarre in terms of the investigation, because you said investigation started a year ago, but somehow it was only within a couple weeks of them coming before this committee to give damning negative testimony about the government in response to questions they were asked, that they were told that they were under investigation. They were subsequently suspended without pay. Meanwhile, we have these very serious allegations against Min Doan that involve hiding information, deleting emails, and as far as I know, there's been no action taken against him. The clearest difference to me between Mr. Doan and Mr. McDonald and Utano is that Mr. McDonald and Utano gave very blunt, critical testimony, whereas Mr. Doan obfuscated, prevaricated, didn't answer questions, and gave every indication of trying to defend the party line. And I get the same impression here, that you who are subject to the leadership of CBSA are looking at one set of allegations against one set of individuals and not against others. Maybe the best way to go from that is to ask you, sir, about your own reporting chain of command. You have characterized your investigation as independent, but you're not independent, are you? You're part of the department. You're subject to the authority of the department, and you're movable, reassignable at any time. Is that correct?
Of course, I do not have the independence of the OAG or the procurement ombudsman, for example. But I do have the space and time to conduct my work independently within the agency.
Okay, you.
That's not independent. You can't just sit there and say, well, I have the space. No. Like, if you're investigating something the president did and you report to the president, guess what that's called? Conflict of interest. So how can you reliably be investigating anyone potentially in senior leadership when you literally report to them? You can't. And that's what Janice is kind of outlining here. Women hauling, what is it again?
Women hauling oversize, I believe.
Women hauling oversize. I'm going to get that right at some point. With a 279 super chat. Thank you very much. Janice to Lafleur. Well, this is what you want him to say.
What is it that you do?
There you go. What is it that you do? And just because I screwed up your name, I'll give you the other one too.
What would you say you do here?
It's one of my favorite scenes in in Office Space. You haven't seen Office Space? Go and see that movie on Netflix or whatever streaming service that you can't afford to watch right now because of the Liberals. So anyhow, yeah, this is interesting. So let's hear about this reporting relationship, Lafleur.
You would like us to believe that you have space and time to act independently, but substantively in terms of your role, you are not independent. There are no independent attributes about your role. And you even told us that you're informally providing information to your superiors at CBSA on an ongoing basis.
To wrap up,
you are not an independent investigator. You are their investigator, subject to the authority structure within CBSA. Do you think that compromises the integrity of your investigation?
Yes.
Very, very brief answer, please.
Yes.
It is normal for departments to investigate matters that occurred within their departments.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kuzmirchuk, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Lafleur, for being here with us here today and bringing your testimony. Over the course of the last number of months, we heard testimony that there's allegations that CVs were being inflated in order to win contracts. So bona fides were being inflated to win contracts. Is that enough grounds, in your experience, to proceed from a preliminary review to a formal investigation? Just on those grounds. If someone is caught inflating CVs to win contracts, is that typically enough to move from a preliminary report to a formal report?
So maybe one point of clarification, if I could. I wouldn't be responsible for investigating the actions of vendors, only of employees of the CBSA.
Boom. So that's actually very important. Right?
Why is that?
Because what the Liberals are trying to say is, well, the government didn't do anything wrong, right? Government didn't do anything wrong. So it must be because of what GC Strategies did that you've, proceeded to a phase 2 investigation. And he's saying, nope, I'm not responsible for that. That doesn't go into this. The only reason I would proceed to a phase 2 is I found some internal people did some things wrong. So he just actually smacked Kazmierczuk right across the face with that fact. So let's not give this guy a complete hard time. He is giving some good answers, even though he seems like he's a bit unsure of himself and seems to manage his department in a little bit of a haphazard way. Glaxy with a $50 super chat. Thank you very much. Very, very much for that. Much, much love to you too. I can't wait to see your channel live streams at 10,000 viewers. I don't know if we'll get to that point, but I hope you're right. Your content is pure, honest, and truthful. Barnaby is amazing at keeping chat clean and fun, easily the most informative and exciting channel in politics. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
We strive to make it entertaining because, again, like you think back to when you were a kid. I don't think any of us ever thought we would be staying up on a Monday night, 11 o'clock Eastern time to all watch politics together and have fun doing it.
Well, true story. When I was growing up, my mom always taught us you don't talk about 3 things with polite company because it can lead to arguments. Number 1 is money, number 2 is religion, and number 3 is politics. And now we're talking politics every single night.
Yeah, so there you go.
Fair enough. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, shut down. That's what that is.
Good
Not
answer.
fair. Shut down.
Wanted to ask you.
Okay. He just completely admitted that he was thwarted there. So I apologize if I was kind of laughing through it, but he just said, "Oh, that's a good answer." So that was quite funny, man.
How many procurement related cases have you investigated? You've been doing this for 15 years. Are the vast majority of the cases related to procurement? Is a small subsection related to procurement? Just curious if you can speak to that.
It's a very small subsection.
It's a very small subsection. Okay. In your experience, this case that you're examining right now, how normal is it? How out of the ordinary is it? If you can maybe speak to that a little bit. Provide us a little bit of context in terms of what we're looking at here.
So my presence before committee today is highly abnormal. As someone who is responsible for conducting an administrative investigation that is ongoing, being asked to speak publicly is not normal, and it is a challenge. I do have responsibility to ensure the integrity of the process and procedural fairness for the individuals under investigation. And I also have a responsibility to ensure that our investigation ultimately is able, if there is wrongdoing identified, to lead to accountability. So while I have great respect for the work of this committee, it is difficult to answer some of the questions relating to those very pointed points.
I know you can't speak specifically to this case. I understand that, but I just wanted to ask the specifics of this case. Are there things that you have not seen in your experience in your 15 years that you've seen in this particular case that you're investigating?
Absolutely.
Okay. Can you tell us when the preliminary review was completed?
So the preliminary review, it happened relatively quick. So I would say by December of 2022, we had evidence that at least some of the allegations appeared to be substantiated, and we would have been in a position to proceed formally with the investigation at that time, were it not for the ongoing criminal investigation.
How much time did it take before moving from the preliminary to the formal, roughly speaking? What are we talking? Is it a matter of days, weeks?
Oh my God.
That you make the switch?
Listen.
To a
Generally
formal?
speaking, it can take up to 7 weeks. We give ourselves 45 business days.
Yeah, if you'd been listening earlier.
To switch to the formal.
To move to formal.
Who makes that decision? Who makes that decision? Is that your decision? Or does someone make that decision for you and say, okay, we want you to move into a formal?
In the normal course of an investigation, it would be the investigator and the responsible manager that would make those decisions.
Okay, so in that case, it's yourself with management makes that decision together?
My management team.
Your management team?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. I actually have a question for the chair, if that's okay. Thank you, Michelle. I just wanted to know, Mr. Chair, when did you become aware that a member of this committee had the preliminary statement of fact?
Pretty much today, I understand such details. But I'm not sure if he has the full. I'm going to stop. Well, I'm not sure if he's got the full report. I was intending to discuss the release of the report because there are some issues around that we have to decide as a committee. I was going to do it Wednesday, but I think we're going to move that up in camera right after we finish our committee business.
Yeah, one thing that that I think was kind of talked about is that committee did receive a copy of the investigation from CBSA, but there's one tiny little problem. There's a whole bunch of redactions. Why is the CBSA redacting an internal investigation and providing the redacted copy to committee?
Because he got something to hide?
Very bizarre. Very bizarre. So, that's probably the issues that Kelly's referring to.
I understand my concerns here. It seems that there's certain members, and I'm not sure if the other members of the other Conservative MPs have access to this information.
This is very often, though. There are certain MPs that have ATEPs, that have other reports that others do not have. But I think that's up to the members to discuss that with or do their research on that. But
no, just as a matter of process, I would expect that the moment members of this committee, and especially the chair, have information, asymmetrical information, that is distributed, or that is at least that we are made aware of the fact that information is now out there. I think that is really important.
Point of order, Chair.
Committee.
Yeah, it's fine. Continue your point of order, and that is your time. Then we'll discuss the actual distribution of it.
Yeah,
today.
Mr. Chair, I just think a point is getting confused here. Obviously, if in his capacity as chair, the chair is sent information for the committee, he should be distributing that in a symmetrical way to all or to none. However, if members, clearly all of us have different levels of information that we get from different conversations we have. That's extremely normal. Members of the government presumably have conversations with government ministers, government political staff, and know things that we don't know, and we have conversations that they're not part of, and so everybody knows things that somebody else doesn't know. The question is around the distribution of information from the committee.
Right, and I appreciate
so
the point of order, but to be clear, I've got one copy here, and the clerk has a copy. And Mr. Fleur, and I sure dozen people at CBSA, I'm sure Ms. O'Gorman, and the witnesses lawyer. And however, there are many people have been distributed, but we'll continue the conversation about distribution.
Sure. No, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I just wanted to make sure that the moment that the clerk and the chair is made aware that the information is out there, something as important as this.
I would disagree, and I'll end it there because I'm aware that certain people have ATEPs that have been shared with them that haven't been shared with anyone else, but that's because, and it's kind of, no, but it's,
No, but what I'm saying-
something that, if
what-
someone's done the research and
Right.
received information that you have not, that's coming upon.
What I'm saying, Mr. Chair, is that the moment that yourself as the chair or the clerk is made aware that there's information that is confidential, that is being shared, I think it's important that that is shared with the rest of the committee.
I would disagree, but the distribution of this, we will discuss among ourselves how to be distributed, and I'll explain a bit further why, and there are kind of rules around it.
Sure.
But I'll disagree with you about that.
So let me translate. When the Conservatives have something important, it's we should have that. We should have that distributed. But if we have something, well, that's our prerogative. Like, the Liberals are literally, in a backhanded way, accusing the Conservatives of corrupting this committee.
How are they corrupting the committee?
Because they're saying that the chair is aware that one of the Conservative MPs has received a report, an important report, and the chair hasn't notified the committee that that's happened.
Yeah, but it's not his report to be notifying people.
Right.
It's not even the committee's report yet. He said
Correct.
he would explain it on Wednesday. Today is not Wednesday. Today is Monday.
Right. And he's even said, well, fine, we won't discuss it Wednesday. We'll discuss it after. So, it's just the Liberals are butthurt about this. And again, they are panicked because they don't know what's in this report. That's the problem. Casper H., good to see you again, sir, with 10 gifted Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you very, very much for that. And everybody else I have seen is thanking Mr. Casper for that. So very well done, sir. Hunsford with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Mr. Cipher, said as Freeland.
Oh, that's my job? Okay, hold on. Thank you, Mr. Cipher.
There you go.
There.
For the Chihuahua. This guy doesn't seem very competent. I guess the suit suits him. Well, yeah, if he can't even dress himself, it's kind of concerning about running a government investigation now, isn't it?
Do I have time for Mr. Lafleur?
You've got like 3 seconds, so why don't we just move on to Ms. McNola, because I'm going to try and get through the round so we can get to our committee business. Go ahead, Mrs. McNola.
Merci.
Thank you. Mr. Lafleur, during your investigation, were you able to hear everything that had been said here, and were you able to check the testimony? I heard testimony, but not necessarily to check anything in that testimony. Thank you. Was it useful to your investigation? Yes. Now, with respect to this Helios project, if a confidential document ends up being sent to someone from somewhere, we don't know from who, could that document be discussed publicly? So what I'm saying is, can anything being discussed here interfere with your investigation? Well, I would say that my role is to ensure the integrity of the investigation, regardless of what happens around this table. But if someone is disclosing a confidential document, does that put any extra pressure on that investigation, or does it call into question the integrity of the investigation? Well, I would say in terms of the public interest is something that we need to manage. Now, if the document was requested by the committee, I understand that you'll be discussing all this. But we want some things to be kept confidential for the integrity of the investigation. Well, I think it's quite extraordinary that we're spending so much time on ArriveCan that costs so much money, but so much less on the sponsorship scandal. And we ended up getting what we needed in terms of information, but it took a very long time. Regardless, I thank you very much for providing the information that you were able to provide us with today.
I apologize. I had someone speak in my ear. Was there a question toward me, or are you done, Mrs. Vignola?
Ms. Vignola has again granted her extra time to me, which,
well, you have about an extra 5 seconds.
Wellspring of generosity came from, but I appreciate it.
I'm always nice.
Always nice, yes.
I'm nice.
So Mr. Chair, this is like, it's turned into quite a twisted tale here, and I'm trying to follow all of these twists and turns as someone who joined the committee partway through this study. There's a lot of complexity here. We have this preliminary statement of fact that sounds like it's very interesting. Some members of the committee have it, others don't.
Anyways, go ahead, sure time.
Well, it seems to me that some members of the committee had it because they were reading from it and they said they had it. So, you know, we're in this strange position where Mr. Lafleur can't give it to us. The chair has it. We're going to discuss apparently whether we can see it. It seems to me that it would have been helpful for this line of questioning today for all members of the committee to have it, so that together, because we're all seeking accountability here, together we could ask questions of Mr. Lafleur, who's the author of the preliminary statement of fact. It also seems like having that out in the open in some ways puts additional pressure on the investigation, and granted, but we're already down that path now. And one of the interesting things here is that we have these two civil servants, and I wasn't here for their original testimony, but I understand that they were subject to some fairly strong lines of questioning and allegations from my Conservative colleagues at previous meetings. Now the Conservatives seem to be running interference for these same civil servants who appear to be giving them confidential information so that they can ask certain questions at a committee where not all members are privy to that information. So it creates a very odd dynamic, and it seems to me like the best way to clear the air is to simply have the preliminary statement of fact on the table, to invite Mr. Lafleur back so that we can ask him additional questions about the content of that document, because frankly a bunch of us are playing with one hand behind our back because for whatever reason certain witnesses felt that giving those documents to some members of the committee and not others was going to be to their advantage.
Okay. I know exactly why the Conservatives played it this way.
To make the NDP and the Liberals look like fools?
No, but that's a side effect.
Oh.
Anyone want to take a guess? And I know this is going to take a little bit to figure it. Why did the Conservatives play it this way? Why does the chair seemingly have the document and it hasn't been distributed yet? Why does Brock have the document, seemingly gifted directly from Utano and McDonald? And why don't anyone else at the committee have it? Right? So I'm not really going to wait for a response because it's going to take some time. But here's the reason. Well, to trip up the witness? No. Actually, flush out the corrupt? No. To watch the reaction? No. To scare them? No.
That's a side effect.
Force an adjournment? No. So they can catch them? No, actually. This is why. The reason that they did this, and I'm 100% confident they did this, is because I think if they had the report, I think as soon as this meeting started, there would be a motion to adjourn.
Oh, that makes sense.
One of the NDP or the Liberals would have had a motion to adjourn, and then they couldn't talk about any of these allegations that were in the report. And it would have shut it down right there and then.
Huh.
So that's why Brock was reading key passages from that report.
So that it's read into the record and that Canadians know about it.
Correct. He said some specific things. He said bribery. He said fraud. Right? And there were some specific passages that he read. Very important passages. So, very, very, very clever.
It's diabolical, really.
So, as I said, like, these guys are so cerebral.
Yeah, they're playing like 40 chess, and the Liberals and NDP are eating the pieces of the checkers board.
And this is just, it's such a fascinating game to watch here as it plays out. Yeah, it's just so fascinating. So, and it's neat. It's neat seeing these political moves play out in real time, right? And this is the thing. You see the Liberals and the NDP saying, "No, we didn't have it." Well, sucks to be you. Here's the thing. Maybe you guys should have cozied up to Utano and McDonald, and then you would have gotten the report. But the Conservatives are the ones actually doing work here, right? So they are, the Conservatives are doing everything they can, using every tactic they can to get leverage over these witnesses. Whether they're corrupt or whether they believe them to be criminals or not, they're doing whatever they can, good cop, bad cop, everything in between, to get information out of them. And it's obviously worked with McDonald and Utano, because they got this report. Right? So, anyway, let's keep going. Making sure I'm not missing anything here. I think we're... no, I got a couple... actually, Travis Foster joined NP supporter, so welcome to the membership, Travis. Sorry you didn't win the lottery tonight. Glaxy with a $2 membership. We are all seeking accountability. Sure, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's only the Conservatives that are trying to get accountability. Maybe a little bit the Bloc, but not the NDP or the Liberals.
And a $5 super chat also from Glaxy. Thank you very much. How is it odd when whistleblowers are punished? Hello, you're live, bud. Yeah, exactly.
And, we're in a situation where obviously these allegations are extremely serious. If the allegations that have been made in the Bottler report turn out to indeed be true, this indicates that there is serious wrongdoing amongst civil servants working on the ArriveCan procurement. And that's something all Canadians should be concerned about. So, Mr. Chair, if you'll grant it, I will make a motion that the committee be provided with the preliminary statement of fact immediately.
Maybe just a quick point of order.
You will burn out your time to discuss your motion to begin with. The second, I would ask you that we wait. Again, I will discuss it, how we will proceed with it in camera, or we can do it publicly if you wish. It's up to you. But
Publicly.
Sure, we'll do it.
Sorry, Chair, just a point of order. I don't know if the motion would be in order because I proposed exactly the same motion and the committee adopted that motion. I think early last week, and it had a 3-week deadline. So I gather we're going to have a discussion about how to dispose of
these documents. It's a duplicate of Mr. Genovis's motion from 3 weeks ago.
Can I respond, Mr. Chair?
No.
I think it is.
Let me interrupt. I have the floor here. Mr. Genovis, I have the floor. Yeah. Mr. Genovis is right. It was basically you're asking for a duplication of a motion that's already been received. We'll discuss it right now, actually, then, and we may lose the time for your motion, but we're going to discuss it right now, committee. The request came in from Mr. Genovis for these documents. We agreed. The committee agreed to pass a motion to have the documents provided. CBSA wrote to me saying we will provide one copy only, and it'll be under lockup. No one will see it. One copy and wasn't translated. We wrote back saying, no, that's not the motion. You will provide it. She wanted it held in private for sensitivity.
Oh, this was bait.
You think McCullough
Kelly
was in
baited
on it?
them.
Yeah, you think he was in on it?
Kelly baited them on this. Oh my god. Oh, this is such an amazing play.
He's a mastermind.
Holy.
Pretends to be so sweet and innocent, and he's just, again, diabolical. Just so clever.
In a battle of wits, this is like, bringing a knife to a nuke fight. Seriously. Okay, so for those who don't know why I'm like having a fit over here. So what's happening is the Liberals and everybody knows the Liberals and the NDP were having a fit over this report that Brock has, right? So a while ago, Genuis made a motion that the CBSA provide this report to committee, this preliminary or fact-finding report. Okay. So Kelly says earlier that we have it and we're going to discuss it later. That just riles up Sousa and the NDP because,
of course it does.
Because they're like, well, it's right here and he has it. We don't have it. We want it. We want it. We want it.
They're like children.
And then Kelly says, okay, well, we'll discuss it later today, but we'll do it in camera. And so what does that say? Okay, so in camera, for those that don't know, in camera it's a closed meeting. It's not open to the public. So it's typically where they discuss confidential information that is not suitable for a public audience. Okay, and it's also not in the record because it's not for public availability. It's in a different record. Okay. So the Liberals and the Conservatives are thinking, sorry, the Liberals and the NDP are thinking the Conservatives are being all shady here. What the hell? So the play here is that Kelly is trying to get the Conservatives to ask for this discussion to not be in camera, because that way, at least from the Liberals and the NDP perspectives, they're going to be, we're going to make them say the stuff that they don't want to say in the public. Whereas Kelly's perspective is, I want to say this in public, and I want you to ask me about it. And so he said, well, we can do it in public if you want. Yes, I want to do it in public. Okay, fine, we'll do it right now. Now this is all on public record, and the Liberals, they're gonna have like a conniption at the end of this, because now this is all going to be read into the record.
I wonder if Susan's going to have a stroke.
It was bait. What a play by the Conservatives today. Just from a strategy point of view, well done.
We wrote back saying, please provide it. So I will take a look. I will read through it to see how sensitive it is, see if it actually is sensitive stuff. I've read through most of it with notes that I was going to discuss on camera, but we'll do it publicly. I was going to suggest that we distribute it only to the members itself, not to the wider 48 people generally on our email list that it is provided. I spoke to the clerk today before the meeting on how we do that. We just need a motion. My suggestion was going to be to propose we share it translated, but only to the members itself, not to our staff, not to the usual 47 people on the list. That was going to be my proposal on Wednesday. It seems to be moved up. If you wish to discuss it now, that would be my suggestion, that we share it only with the members. Mr. Sousa?
So, Mr. Chair, the issue that we're having here is, obviously, Mr. Brock, who's not a regular on this committee, has had access to this statement of fact. You're aware that he had it, and you have it, and yet you
Okay, let me
didn't.
interrupt. I was aware he had it when he spoke about it, but I have to question whether this is the first. I'm going to say it to all of you, and I'm very kind of stunned. It's almost like the first committee, all of you, the amount of time all of us receive reports or emails or ATIPs to us that don't go to everyone.
Mr. Chair, my question
And
is.
yet, all of a sudden now someone has one and it has to be shared?
No. Listen, I just want to understand, Mr. Chair. I apologize. I'm not as astute when it comes to these procedures, but it seems to me that if you're aware that Mr. Brock has a statement of fact, you have it and the clerk has it, and you decided not to then share with the rest of us, knowing that.
That's not the case, Mr. Sousa, and this will be the third time I've said it to you.
So when did you know that he had it?
You asked that earlier, and about 15 minutes ago, when he stated at the opening that he received some information from the witnesses.
He's saying he learned about it today, you dolt.
Yeah, but Susan's acting like a spoiled child. I want it. Why can't I have it? Why does Brock have it?
Well, he's trying to say it's a conspiracy, that the chair isn't doing his job and blah, 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 blah. That's what he's trying to say. That's what he's trying to say.
These guys are unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll shut down committees when they don't want the Conservatives to ask the witnesses any questions. And now that, they're on the back foot, they're acting like spoiled children.
Well, that's it. They've shut down meetings before they even started. So, sorry guys, sucks to be you.
Yeah, it sucks when you're on the receiving end, doesn't it?
Witnesses, I'm aware, and their lawyer, I am aware, have a copy of it. Mr. Lafleur, and how many people CBSA or CBSA have it, I am not sure. But even if it was shared by the witnesses, or Mr. McDonald or Mr. Utano, that's their right. And that's their right to share it with anyone they want. But that does not mean that you have the right to see it.
Look, wow.
Okay, who was it that told us, Kelly can be a little spicy, right? And I think we're seeing that right now.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And he's doing it in such a polite way.
Right?
But
you can't even get mad at him.
It's just a hand, it just like smacks him across the face, and you can't do it. And it's such a condescending way. And damn right, like, Sousa, shut up. Like, the way Sousa comes across is, no, I get my way. I get my way. He comes across as like a bad gangster.
He does, really. I was thinking that too. He's like one of the bottom mob guys, like the ones that do the dirty work.
Yeah. Glaxy with the $2 super chat. Oh, Canada, how corrupt have you become? There you go.
Or that anyone else.
No, but we're asking, Mr. Chair, I'm just trying to understand. I'm asking for the committee's right to have information shared when it's already in the hands of others, and knowing that it's in the hand of others, it could have been appropriate for us to suspend and then share that document. I guess that's all my point, so that we can all have seen it.
I will repeat, as I said earlier, before the meeting started, discussed this with the clerk. My opinion was to share it only with the members itself. I asked for procedure on how to do that. Before the meeting started, the clerk advised, do it as a motion. My intent was to do it in camera Wednesday, but now it's been pushed ahead. But if you wish, we can do a motion right now to share it just with the MPs, which is my thought, or with the broader mailing list, which is, as we generally share other issues, or we share with the MPs with the understanding it remains confidential.
But the damage is done. It's in the record. Sorry, Liberals. Sucks to be you.
Wow, they walked right into that, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Damage is done. Damage is done.
And just the way Kelly handled it, that was beautiful. Like chef's kiss. Amazing.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, sorry, this is too complicated for you. Okay, we'll do it this way. Like,
they walked right into it.
Boom.
Which is how we do on documents. But someone sharing something that is theirs to share with, they decided to share with you. That's their business, and that is your business. That does not mean has to be shared with everyone else until the committee decides. We were going to decide it Wednesday, as I discussed with the clerk at the beginning, and you can confirm that with her if you wish. But it seems to be pushed to right now.
Seems appropriate, and I just was concerned that somehow it's been held off, knowing that Mr. Brock had it. We should have.
Mr. Sousa, if you wish to check with the clerk and reconfirm my discussion with her at the beginning, we will do so, Mr. Sousa.
Wow.
You don't believe me? I'm playing 10 moves ahead of you. Why do you think the Conservatives are so far ahead in the polls? Because we're playing 10 moves ahead of the Liberals. Like,
this is amazing to watch in like real time.
Well,
like just watching these guys work, these Conservatives work. Like you said, they're 10 moves ahead.
Well, and the thing is when the entire government is corrupt, it starts to become easy to predict corruption. Right? So when you know that if the Liberals see something very bad, that's going to have a pretty big negative impact on them, then they're going to do whatever they can to shut it down.
What is it? I think it's a line from Pirates of the Caribbean, actually, where they say, you can always trust a dishonest man to be dishonest.
Yes.
And that's exactly what happened here.
Yeah, you can always trust a corrupt man to be corrupt.
Yeah, so they knew exactly what the Liberals would do. They walked right into this trap.
So, all of you that joined the live stream tonight, I hope you've learned a lot so far.
But I'm getting a bit tired of your insinuations that perhaps some people are being receiving the information inappropriately from the clerk or from myself. Mr. Brock.
We are wasting such valuable time with this important witness. Given the fact that we have more committee business to undertake, I am asking that we reserve our right to recall this witness. I think there are a lot of more questions that all members, and if the motion is passed in terms of release of documents, are going to have for this individual. Insofar as preparation of this particular meeting, every member exercises their own unique due diligence. So what I do in terms of preparation should not be the standard by which any other member should equate that to. I take this stuff very seriously, as I know my colleagues do. And there's an important point to make here. There is no proprietary interest in any witness. There is nothing preventing from any member of the Liberal bench from actually reaching out to Cameron McDonald on a telephone call,
That's exactly
or Mr.
what I
Utano,
said.
and asking pointed questions, which is precisely what I did. I spent some time with both individuals gathering information.
In a very dark room.
That information, I'm not under any legal obligation to share that with opposing members.
I agree.
Bingo.
But you know what? The Liberals and the NDP, they're both socialists, right? They think you have to share everything of yours with them.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like, oh, you found something and you did the work. I don't want to do work, so you're supposed to share it with me. Nope.
Yep, not how it works.
And it just shows which MPs are actually concerned of getting to the truth here.
Not the Liberals.
The Conservatives are concerned about finding the truth. The Liberals are concerned about making this go away and ignoring it so that it does. Well, that's not going to work so well. You've been sitting in your ignorance and allowed the Conservatives to get 10 moves ahead of you because of it. Sucks to be you.
Colleagues, are we ready to make a decision and move on, or would you like to discuss it further Wednesday, or... Again, my proposal is to share it solely with the members of Parliament on this committee.
Chair, can we take a 2-minute recess? Thank you.
Well, we have to strategize.
Suspend for 2 minutes, but please, 2 minutes maximum.
Kelly's like, look at, oh man.
He looks irritated.
He's just like, you stupid idiots. Like, Glaxy with a $2 super chat. Baby, you got brocked.
You sure did. And they did not like it.
Like,
wow.
Yeah. Kelly's just like, these freaking guys.
Like, I think we're going to have to scrape my brains off the ceiling because my mind is blown about, like, this was just such a strategic move.
Like, holy moly is all they really have to say.
Doug Michaels, I need to go to the bathroom. Yeah, if you need a bathroom break, take one right now because we're not going to speed this up. Cypher and I will just talk over the music.
Yeah, so. But I have a feeling. We may not get any more questions into to Mr. McFleur today because the Liberals and the NDP are very uncomfortable.
As they should be.
Danny with a $2.79 super chat. Get with the program, Sousa. Yeah, absolutely. Hunsford with a $10 super chat. Thank you again. I love your description of the Conservatives playing 4D chess and the Liberals eating the checkers pieces. That got a laugh out loud of me and a co-worker asking if I was just laughing.
Are you laughing? You're having a panic attack.
Well, Hunsford, you should say yes, absolutely. Come over here and watch this. Diane Sylvain with 5 gifted Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you so much for that.
And I've got Barnaby in the background telling me the violin is for the libs crying.
Absolutely. And it's, yeah, it is kind of sad, isn't it? Like,
this is like a masterpiece. Like this, you would see this in a Hollywood movie. You know, like everyone's moving around, doing what they're gonna do, and then bam, last second they pull it like this brilliant play. You know, it reminds me of like a Ocean's 11. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing, and then they all come together.
Yeah, but God, just good political strategy going on here. And it just shows how insecure the Liberals are with their position right now. Like, because again, just all these scandals are being discussed, and Mr. Brock's coming back to his seat with his cup of Liberal tears, no doubt.
Thank you for offering us to verify. And again, this is nothing; it's just procedural. Can the clerk inform us as the time that that she received the statement of preliminary fact? Date and time.
About a week ago. This is the letter that we were talking about last meeting, actually.
So specifically the document that you pointed to, that you highlighted. When did the clerk time and date that received that big document that our colleague, Mr. Brock, has been referring to?
We're just looking it up.
Thank you.
As they look it up, Casper H with a $50 super chat. Thank you very much. This is awesome. Thanks, Northern Perspective. You are quite welcome.
And Ryan Poplinsky says the violin piece was Chopin Nocturne in C sharp minor.
We
Very
have
cool.
we have such a educated and cultured viewership here. I love it.
Absolutely.
Joss Spell with a $7 super chat. Thank you very much. That's your first on a super. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. The Conservatives are just sitting back there and enjoying the sweet taste of that battle they just won, and the Liberals are just like, oh, crap.
Yeah, do you think they know that they walked into it at this point, or do you think they're still obsessing over the report itself?
Probably both. Like, look at Sousa. He's just...
Is he red again?
Oh, yeah. He's red as the Canadian flag. Look. And they're just...
Was suspend for a moment, but I believe it was, I think probably January 30th or February 1. But we'll double check.
Seen it around Reddit that people are saying that they're getting demonetized, like their whole channel getting demonetized, not just a video, for posting to multiple platforms. So it's not something we want to mess around with.
Yep. Plus, Rumble is the on the creator side, it is like YouTube's not great.
The back end's not.
But the back end of Rumble is terrible.
Bad.
The front end's fine, but the back end is very, very challenging to deal with. Daniel with a 279 super chat. Violin should be called Ode to the Lefties.
Nice.
Rhonda Davey, nice to see you with a $2 super chat. Grasping at straws and standing on very thin ice. Yeah, and that ice is going to break soon. Curtis Spence with a $5 super chat. I bet the rest of the Conservatives are sitting at home watching this with their popcorn. Brock probably told them all to watch committee.
Nice.
Will Kowalczyk with a $5 super chat. I'm sorry, when are the Libs just going to give up like checkmate? Oh, they are close, man. They are close. They are so they're basically cornered on the SDTC scandal now. They're so close to being cornered on the ArriveCAN scandal. Like, everything's coming to a head, and very, very soon. Gary Michaela with a $5 super chat. The music should be muted so I can hear Cypher and Fox commentary. That's why we turned it off. So there we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mute this, and then we're going to play this. So this continues, and then once they come back, I will take off the music or take off the sound. Travis Foster with a $5 super chat. Love you guys. Keep it up. Got to go back to work, but I will finish listening to you guys in the AM. Good night, y'all. Good night, Travis. Thanks for sticking with us until now. But remember the other day I was like, oh, I'm kind of concerned that this is going to be kind of a dud. It's either going to be really, really exciting or dud. I am so happy it was not the former, but the latter. Diane Sylvain with a $10 super chat. Libs upset that the quote-unquote inclusive, transparent diversity is not working for them. LOL. Sousa, this was a measured approach by the Conservatives, so it's all good, to quote someone you know. Yeah, absolutely. Dana Wick with a $2 super chat. That's standing on paper straws. Yeah, 100%. Coolman0893 with a $5 super chat. When will the Liberals understand that the only winning move is to not to play, aka resign?
I think soon, if the NDP don't call a non-confidence vote, I think that the Liberals are going to dissolve Parliament all on their own, because I think the Conservatives are getting too close to finding out what's wrong.
Yeah, and Ryan Poplinski with a $2.79 super chat. Libs iceberg ahead, full speed. Well, and that's the thing. Like the Globe and Mail is actually theorizing that Justin Trudeau is going to be the one to call an election. A, to stop all of the committees. And B, because I think if Trudeau prorogues Parliament and doesn't call an election,
he's done.
It's over.
He's even worse done than he already is.
It is over for the Liberal Party. Like the entire Liberal Party, it would be over. So we can't do that. Or rather, he really, 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 really shouldn't do that. But if he calls the election, he's at least mitigating the damage. And again, he takes all of the steam away from Jagmeet and basically guarantees that they will be the official head of the official opposition. That's their door prize for the election. It is. If the NDP end up calling the no confidence vote and the election happens that way, it's going to be trumpeted throughout their entire campaign, right?
Yeah, but as the Liberals, how can you dissolve Parliament and call an election? Because it's like admitting defeat and then knowing that they're going to lose half their seats. Like it doesn't make sense. I don't know how you could like market that to the public. Be like, oh, we're doing it because we want to come back and win. And everyone's like, well, the Conservatives are winning.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that. But the problem is what other choice do they have? So that's the catch.
Let's see what Mr. Kelly has to say.
Just to me.
To the clerk?
Oh, no, went to the clerk. Clerk forwarded it to me.
And the clerk wasn't CC'd. Just the clerk?
Thursday, the 1st, as I said.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Mr. Kuzmarchuk?
Mr. Chair, I have a serious issue with the fact...
Then go to the washroom.
Brilliant, Garnet. With the fact
Wait a
that...
minute. What did Garnet say? I'm sorry. I have to back that up, folks.
Can you
What is it that you do?
Oops. Thanks, Garnet.
Okay, I'll be quiet.
With the fact... Brilliant, Garnet.
Can't hear
with
it.
the fact that the clerk had...
Disingenuous.
The clerk and the chair had this report, the statement of fact, in your possession last week, very early last week.
What did I say they were going to say?
Knowing that the author of that report was coming before this committee today. And yet there was no indication, no communication from you to let us know that there was communication from the CBSA regarding this report. And it takes a second to sit at a computer to say, folks, I know we've got Mr. Lafleur testifying on Monday. Heads up, I've got a report in my possession, as does the clerk, that is pertinent to his appearance before this committee. It takes a split second. And I don't understand the logic of not sharing that information with this committee so that we can make an informed decision as a committee whether we want to defer or delay the appearance of Mr. Lafleur to give us the opportunity.
And there you go.
What? He admitted, he said the quiet part out loud.
And there you go. That's exactly why. Again, 4D chess. Exactly why.
Oh my gosh.
You've just demonstrated why the Conservatives did what they did. You corrupt piece of garbage.
Oh man, I feel bad for those of you who this is your MP.
Yeah, and we have gotten a message from at least one person who has Kuzmarchuk as their MP, and
yikes!
My goodness, like, dude,
Oof.
Dude. What is wrong with you? You literally just admitted that you would have deferred this. Oh, we see this report. Uh-oh, that's not a good thing. Get this witness out of here.
Well, I guess the good news is that if you are in Mr. Kazmierczuk's writing, Conservatives are polling at 35%, NDP at 31%, and Liberals at 24%. So I don't think he's going to have a seat after the next election.
Well, that's probably why he looks so panicked right now.
Oh, for sure.
Opportunity to decide whether we want to look at the statement, and then even have an opportunity to look at the statement before the author, the investigator, comes before the committee. That I cannot understand your logic, Mr. Chair. I have a serious issue with that lack of communication with the members of this committee on such an important issue. And your explanation doesn't fly, Mr. Chair.
I guess we'll agree to disagree, Mr. Kazmierczuk.
I think it's more important than that. Moving forward, I think it's more important that this committee have the opportunity to have a say in how it conducts its business here. And pertinent, important information was withheld from this committee. And I think we ought to have had a chance.
Well, let me respond. On January 29th, you received a letter about the report from President O'Gorman. If it was that important, as you've been stating, you could have simply, as you said, sent a simple email to me asking to have that distributed.
Well, this has been a problem, everybody. The Liberals never read their goddamn email. Gotta love that. Right again.
He's just.
What does Kelly have right in his hand? Knows exactly what they're going to say. Like literally, is just waiting for them to follow the script that he already knows is coming. This is just.
My mind's blown. Like
4D chess.
Genius. And look, Kelly's throwing the MP's words right back at him.
It's like, if this was so important, you were notified about this.
Yeah.
I didn't need to notify you because you already were. So, how do you like them apples?
This is some next level stuff.
Like, Kelly's a sniper of a chair, man. Like, just...
Don't underestimate him.
Oh, yeah.
He'll mess you up.
He's quiet. He's a little meek. He's polite. But then, nuh-uh. You want to mess with the big boys, then let's play. There is no messing with Kelly McCauley, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. Chair, we depend on you because you received the information you shared with us over the break that you read through the report. Why were we not given the same privilege?
Mr. Kazmierczuk, every single one of you received a letter on the 29th.
See McCauley? He's like wiggling in the back of his chair. He's enjoying this.
Or he's irritated, or both.
Both.
I suppose it could be both.
Both. No, I think he's enjoying this because he's making the entire Liberal and NDP caucus here look the fools.
Because they are. Canadians are just seeing it in real time.
Complete fools.
Ms. O'Gorman, about the report. Certainly any one of you could have simply said at that time, hey, let's get the report out. You could have simply said on Wednesday, Mr. Genuis, Wednesday or Thursday or Friday, or Saturday, Sunday, or even this morning, knowing that we had Mr. Lafleur coming, hey, we want to see the report. But it's not like it was a big secret. We knew about the report. Mr. Sousa actually referenced this letter at our last meeting.
Oops.
So you certainly could have addressed it then if it was all important. Mr. Genuis, then Mr. Bachrach.
Yeah, Chair, just respectfully, we have Mr. Lafleur before us. I have more questions that I'm hoping to ask him. And we have this sort of silly process point from the government who, on the one hand, seems surprised that somebody might know something they don't know because of something they might have been sent directly. And secondly, they don't seem to appreciate sort of the legitimate exercise of chair's discretion at all. I've been on many committees, and it seems that the issue the chair has articulated is he has sought to get access to this information for the committee, and CBSA initially was trying to not send it or have it distributed at all, or require people to be in a locked room. So the chair has undertaken a negotiation process back and forth in order to get the committee access to this document. Let's remember, it was my motion to give us access to this document in the first place. When I initially put that motion forward, Liberal members said, oh, we don't know, we have to wait, we need to see it in both official languages. So then I put it on notice, had to bring it back. I think it was a week later, and that's when we got it approved. So, if the members of the government are so eager to get access to these documents, then they should have just approved my motion to request it. And we have people proposing that we request documents that we've already requested. So look, the chair's put forward a proposal to say he'd like to distribute this document to members. I think let's approve the sending of that document to the members. And I'd be happy to have Mr. Lafleur back. I have more questions to ask him. I don't know if I'll get to ask those questions today, but I do suspect that this may be the government just wanting to eat the time that would otherwise be spent asking questions of Mr. Lafleur.
Yes,
I'm ready to get back to work, and let's pass. Let's agree to allow the chair to distribute the document, and let's get back to work.
Yes, that's exactly what's going on, everybody. And I agree, Gary McKaylee, with a $2 super chat. Epic. This is epic.
Absolutely.
Because what is probably going to... Oh, sorry. I want to get to Hunsford's $10 super chat first. I did tell him I was listening, watching the liberal corruption being exposed. I talk about the stuff I learned from you all the time, helping expose the truth. Excellent.
Awesome.
Thank you for that. Yeah, so what has happened is because the Liberals have literally crapped their pants, what they are going to try to do, no doubt, is now they are so afraid of any more questions that may come as a result of this report, because when it goes back to Genuis's time, he could just say, no, I'm actually going to defer my time to Mr. Brock. And then Brock could continue with his examination of that report before the Liberals have a chance to do it. So no doubt, that's what the Liberals went and talked about. And their objective now is going to be to prevent any further questions from the Conservatives to this witness in this committee. Guaranteed, that's what's going to happen. Because they are so terrified about what's in this report and they don't know. And that's going to be the only play that they're going to get. And Genuis knows. He knows this is done. He knows this hearing is over. Because of the path that the Liberals are taking. So I'm expecting something to happen.
Back, Rick.
Mr. Chair, with regard to this line of conversation around when the chair knew what he knew, how it was communicated to the committee, how we ended up here without the statement of fact with Mr. Lafleur here, I don't think we're going to get anywhere in that conversation. There are things going on. There are strategies being employed. I'm reminded of that famous quote from Casablanca. I'm shocked to find that gambling is going on in here. It is what it is. We're not going to change what's already happened. We have to move forward. I think, given that some members of the committee are talking about the statement of fact and reading from it, it would be beneficial to have the whole thing in front of everybody. I have no way of knowing whether it compromises the investigation because I haven't seen it, but it would seem that putting out portions of it and not the statement in its entirety is not to the benefit of transparency and accountability. So I'll leave it at that. It sounds like we're going to have that conversation. Potentially we'll have Mr. Lafleur back at a future date once we have the statement in front of us. We are running out of time in this meeting, and I had hoped to bring forward my motion. So if I may, Mr. Chair, I'll take this moment to thank Mr. Lafleur for his time with us today and to move my motion, which has been put on notice, that the committee undertake a study on the loss of postal service in Canada's rural and remote...
Just a point of order. I was under the impression that we had a motion on the floor.
We're still discussing the motion to release this. Can I address a couple of things quickly?
Mr. Chair,
there was a motion about releasing the documents.
I made a motion and I withdrew it.
Yeah.
But was there previously a motion made at this meeting that was being debated?
Yeah, about the
From whom?
the documents.
From whom?
Actually, well, I had put forward, and we were discussing whether we were going to release the documents or not.
Can we have the motion read back?
Yeah, tell you what, why don't we just? I think we'll get to yours, Taylor. Let me just.
No, it's like, well, now we have 10 minutes, Mr. Chair. Like, the question
we'll have
is,
less if we continue.
you just said that there's a motion on the floor. I'm just asking you to read back the motion.
It was the motion to release the documents. You cannot. We cannot.
Who was the
you cannot
motion?
take back your motion without without unanimous consent.
Mr. Chair, through you, could I ask the clerk what the motion is that we're debating currently? And who put it forward?
What a cluster.
That was almost an F-bomb.
Peter Whitten, $2 super chat. Good night, my friends. Rest well and God bless. Thank you very much for that. And we have Galaxy with a $2 super chat. Q South Park's Kill Canada. There you go. For anyone that has seen this, should we continue or should we wrap it up here? Because if all they're going to be doing is arguing about a motion, then I'm not going to worry about it. But if there is some good material, Dan Cairns has probably seen this because he likes to watch this stuff from what I've seen. So I'll wait for any short answer on that, whether we continue or not. But yes, it's definitely a Fustercluck, Johannes Johnson. Yes, keep it going. Okay, thank you very much for that, Dan. Let's keep it going. Because what's going on now is he's like, I want my motion, and Kelly's like, we were discussing whether or not to release the documents. The problem is I don't think Kelly actually made a formal motion, so that's probably what's going to come out of this.
Going back with the chair, it was yourself, and then you said you withdrew it, but you can't withdraw without UC, and you do not seek the UC. So technically, we are on that motion. I think we could probably settle it really quickly and then get to your Canada Post motion, because I want to get to that today.
You ruled my motion out of order, Mr. Chair. I think if you check the record, you said that there's already a motion from Mr. Genuis that is duplicative.
So I apologize. We apologize.
Thank you.
You are correct there.
Let's go, guys. Hurry up. So these conversations that happen on the side, this is, the clerk's job is to know procedure inside and out to help out the chair. And when there's any issues with procedure, that's where they confer on the side.
I apologize. We cross lines here. Can I? Yeah. Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you. Well, we do have time. We'll get to that, I promise. Can we just agree to hold on just 30 seconds, please, before we get to that? Are you on talking the Canada Post or?
No, I'm talking about the other issue.
Okay. Doesn't look like we will have the 30 seconds. Why don't we get to Mr. Bachrach's motion, because it is in, he has the floor, it is in order, but I hope we can get back to this to decide today about whether we're going to release it just to the MPs, as I suggest, or if you wish it to the larger audience or the larger email thing. Well, we're on Mr. Bachrach's motion, Mr. Sousa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Issues related to Postal Service fall squarely within the mandate of this committee. In the region I represent, which is a region made up of rural and remote communities, there are a lot of concerns about the loss and the sustainability of rural postal service, particularly rural post offices. And in a recent conversation with Canada Post, I became aware that the financial challenges of the corporation continue to worsen. I expect we'll be hearing from Canada Post at a future meeting, but...
Yes, the financial problems of Canada Post continue to worsen. That's why they illegally were selling Canadians information.
Yeah, so they would take information on the outside of the package, such as your address, where you live, and who's sending you presumably what. So if you're getting boxes from a pet store or Amazon or a bookstore, and then they would sell that information for marketing purposes.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, guys. Galaxy with a $2 super chat. I want my motions and I want it now. There you go. All right. I assume we're still continuing, Dan. I hope something interesting happens with Canada Post or otherwise.
I am gravely concerned about the future of postal delivery in rural and remote Canada. This is a lifeline for so many people. People order their medications through the post. Small businesses ship their products through the post. Many seniors who don't have access to technology rely on postal service for communication. And of course, in areas of our country that still lack broadband internet, postal service is vital for a wide range of government services. So I will move the motion that I have put on notice with a change of one word, which came from consultations with the chair. Okay, if we're going to be a stickler for procedure now, I will not change any of the words in my motion, but rather read it into the record, that the committee undertake a study on the sustainability of postal service in Canada's rural and remote communities, that a minimum of 12 hours of witness testimony be dedicated to the topic, that the committee invite the CEO of Canada Post, President of CPAA, and Minister of Public Services and Procurement, and that the committee produce a report and table it in the House. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks. Who can do your friendly amendment that you've discussed?
I note, Mr. Chair, based on conversations prior to the meeting, that there are several amendments that members would like to make, and I'd be happy to consider those. I do feel that this is going to take more than the 10 minutes we have left in the meeting, and so hopefully we can consider this at our next public meeting and arrive at a motion that meets the needs of everyone around the table.
So perhaps someone can read that could possibly
sure, I'd be happy to speak to that. So in our conversation after the last meeting, you raised questions about the word sustainability, and I know that the word sustainability means different things to different people. What I'm getting at here is the long-term viability and sustaining of postal service in rural and remote Canada. And really, this study is on the loss of postal service. What we've seen over the years, particularly since the moratorium, I believe in 1994.
So we'll try and work that into any amendments.
Okay, sure. What I was going to say is that we've seen a lot of post offices lost, despite there being a moratorium on the closure of post offices. And I'd like to get to that issue specifically. Thank you.
Ms. Block, then Mr. Sousa.
Yeah, and I would like to add to that amendment, if I may.
Excuse me.
Oh, I'm Block, then Mr. Sousa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I will be proposing an amendment to Mr. Bachrach's motion. I would propose that we replace the words "a minimum of 12 hours of witness testimony be dedicated to the topic" with the following. The committee hold at least 2 meetings on this topic, starting with the CEO of Canada Post.
Okay, so I'm just going to confirm again. Are we going to be talking about Canada Post for the next 10 minutes or are we done? Because I'm sure none of us wants to hear about them talk about Canada Post for 10 minutes if that's what's going to happen. So let us know. Otherwise, an amazing night to date. We've blown our previous stream record out of the water. So thank you very much to everybody who's joined us. And we have 1,629 likes. That's excellent. So
I believe that's a record as well.
So okay, sounds like that all they're going to be doing is talking about Canada Post from what I am seeing. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to be the end of the stream. But
that was epic.
Yeah, and it wasn't epic because of what the witness was saying. And there was some crazy information that came out of here, but criminal activity. But the master stroke and political strategy and the chess playing that was going on in this committee really was next level. And it's amazing to see that play out in real time. And Fox, could you do up a quick poll? So one of the things that Fox and I have been talking about is to make these committee meetings a little bit more accessible and digestible to both the people that have already seen it and they can go back, and to the rest of our subscribers and other viewers. So the poll is going to be: do you want us to provide clips in smaller chunks of these committee live streams, and then we'll release them as a normal video?
Just yes and no?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the poll. I'm going to pin it to the top, and I do need to let our dog outside for a pee.
So so basically what this is going to do is... Oh, it closed the poll.
Oh, shoot. I hit the wrong button. Okay, hold on.
Nobody voted. What's going on?
Yeah, sorry. I'm just worried about letting him out.
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Don B with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Northern Perspective. Thank you all. If you wouldn't mind sticking around for 2 seconds while Fox just puts this poll up.
Okay, so it's up, and they won't let me pin it anymore. Okay.
I'll just leave it there. So what we're talking about is, do you want us to clip this into smaller chunks? Oh my God, anybody want some dogs? Yeah, we'll clip these into smaller chunks. Probably, we've done something like this before, where it would be, Brock's line of questioning as one, Genesis' line of questioning as another, that sort of thing. And we most likely won't show the liberal stuff, but we would show that exchange of the crazy chess move that went on. That would definitely probably be its own clip. So let us know. But thank you to everybody for joining. It's always a riot hanging out with all you folks, and it's great to be able to hang out with Canadians that are interested in the truth, and that's what we try to provide. So thank you very much for everybody coming out. Thank you for your donations, and even if you're not donating, don't think you're not supporting this channel. Every like that you click, every time you share the video, every time you have a conversation with a coworker, family member, or a friend about Northern Perspective, that is supporting this channel just the same. So, we've had people saying that they've converted like 5 coworkers, or their mom is now watching, their husband's now watching, their wife is now watching. That is just as great as any monetary donation. So thank you very much for all the support and everything that all of you do. So that's going to be it for us. Interesting. We're at a fairly split vote on that, 57%. So I'll chat with Fox about that. But thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Get some sleep. For those of you that are working early in the morning, please get to sleep very quickly. And you want to be alert for your day job tomorrow. So thank you, everybody, and have a good night.